Start this show. Ligma. Okay, we get it. Ligma. What do you know about DNA? Candid. Focused. Got it. We captured the focus. See, like a Pokemon, we caught them all. Captured the focus. Yeah. Hola, everybody. Monday night, Dreadedconservative show. I just woke up out of bed. I'm wearing a dirty work sweater, falling apart, nasty, stained up, tired. So bear with me. Well, we got a little show tonight. More Trump updates. We're going to be focusing on Trump and Biden at the beginning of every show until election time. So more Trump updates. Trump will charge over $9,000 for violating gag orders. He might be going to jail. He might have to spend the night in jail if he's violating these gag orders. Trump says, I can't be gagged. Ahleys' diary. It's been verified like 5 times. It's old news. But we're gonna just re-update you because the girl who found the diary is going to jail now. And Hunter might not be the only crackhead in the Biden family. Marijuana getting reclassified. Everybody's going to be a pothead. We're all going to be dumbed down and demoralized and smoking pot. Does it really affect statistics negatively? Crime statistics, driving statistics. We'll look into all that. See what they're telling us. Oh, you're going to get the federal pot. And then, to wrap up the show, we're going to start off Dissecting a Dictator series. We're going to be talking about Pol Pot and the Cambodian killing fields. You know about the Cambodian killing fields? Well, there's a movie called The Killing Field. You can watch it. But every week for the next couple weeks, we're going to be learning about a different dictator each week. And I'm going to be learning right along with you. We're going to learn about Pol Pot. That's not his real name. I forget how to say his real name because he's Asian. But Pol Pot and the Cambodian killing fields. We'll learn about that tonight. That's it. Let's get into the show. Was the music too loud? You couldn't hear anything I just said? Could you hear anything I just said just now? Talk about Operation Ligma. No! Race cars are reptiles. I will not talk about Operation Ligma. Okay. I got to open up my articles. And we do got memes this week. Lots of funny reels this week. Not a lot of rapid fire news. Not really a lot of main story news. I'm hoping I have like an hour and a half to really learn about Pol Pot. Pol Pot, which is not really his name. His name is like Shin Soon or something like that. I forget how to say it. But where's my folder at? Why is this folder in this folder? That don't make no dang sense. Hold on one second, guys. Somehow my folder of all my stuff for today got in my other folder. My 5.6 folder went into my Reels and Rapid Fire folder. I don't know how that happened, but anyway. Hold on one second. Not a whole lot of news this week. At least not a lot of stuff that I'm super interested in. We heard you? Okay. Cola floor, race cars and reptiles. About to take a toke for everyone. Take a toke for the legalization. Okay. So, Trump trial updates, hush money trial. What's going on this week? This week, Trump was basically held in contempt, hit with 9 gag order violations, $1,000 for each gag order violation. It's over $9,000 he's been fined, held in contempt of court. And then he went in today, new updates. The judge said after the $9,000 fine, which happened earlier in the week, he just went right out and started violating his gag order again. Hold on, stop. He violated his gag order again within hours of getting the $9,000 fine. He walked out and he said, "I don't care about a gag order. You can't gag the best. You can't gag the best." So they're trying to shut him up because he's talking about the trial. They don't want him talking about the trial. It should all be broadcast. It should all be public. This is crazy. So now they're saying that if he keeps violating the gag order, he's going to be basically put in jail, held in contempt and put in jail so that he can't violate his gag order anymore. Locking him up. That's what they're trying to do to the Don. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to work, but it would be crazy if he ends up going to jail for the night over a gag order. Like, God, this is just wild. They're really showing their hand that Elon Musk bought out Drop 'em Entertainment. Was that like a fighting thing? Let's look at the article. I got PBS here. New York Times probably not going to let me read it. Yeah, figured. I only have like 9 articles this week. Usually I have like 16 to 20. So we're going to take our time with this. But let's see. This is for articles. This is supposed to be opened up a little bit for articles. Yes, like that. There we go. Okay. New York. From AP. This is from PBS. They're sourcing from AP. Nobody does their own original reporting anymore. Judge holds Trump in contempt, fines him $9,000, and raises threat of jail in hush money trial. Donald Trump was held in contempt of court Tuesday and fined $9,000 for repeatedly violating a gag order that barred him from making public statements about witnesses, jurors, and some others connected to his New York hush money case. And if he does it again, the judge warned, he could be jailed. Prosecutors had alleged 10 violations, but New York Judge Juan M. Merchan found there were 9. The ruling was a single rebuke for the presumptive Republican nominee who had insisted he was exercising his free speech rights. Trump stared down at the table in front of him as the judge read the ruling, frowning slightly. Merchan wrote that he is keenly aware of and protective of Trump's First Amendment rights, particularly given his candidacy for the office of President of the United States. It is critically important that defendants' legitimate free speech rights not be curtailed, that he be able to fully campaign for the office which he seeks, and that he be able to respond and defend himself against political attacks, Merchan wrote. Still, he warned that the court would not tolerate willful violation of its lawful orders, and that if necessary and appropriate under the circumstances, it will impose an incarceratory punishment. Locking up the Don! Crazy. Hola, BYs. They're trying to lock up the Don. The ruling came at the start of the second week of testimony in the historic case. Manhattan prosecutors say Trump and his associates took part in an illegal scheme to influence the 2016 presidential campaign by burying negative stories. He has pleaded not guilty. Trump was ordered to pay the fine by the close of business Friday. Merchan ruled, and he must remove 7 offending posts from his Truth Social account and 2 from his campaign website by 2:15 p.m. Tuesday. The judge is also weighing other alleged gag order violations by Trump and will hear arguments Thursday. Of the 10 posts, the one Merchan ruled was not a violation came on April 10th, a post referring to witnesses Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels as sleazebags. Nice. Everybody knows a couple sleazebags, scumbags, idiots. We all know them. They're out there. Merchant said Trump's contention that he was responding to previous posts by Cohen is sufficient to give him pause on whether the post was a violation. Thus, in the court's view, this post constitutes the words of defendant. Wait, hold on. Post quoting sufficient to give him pause on whether the post was a violation. Among those he found to be violations, Merchant ruled that a Trump post quoting Fox News host Jesse Waters' claim that liberal activists were lying to infiltrate the jury constitutes a clear violation of the gag order. Merchant noted that the words contained within the quotation marks in Trump's April 17th post misstated what Walters actually said. Thus, in this court's view, this post constitutes the words of defendant himself. Merchant. Oh, so wait. So Trump was doing a truth. What do they call it? A truth bomb or something like that. Trump was dropping a truth bomb over on Truth Social, and he did a quote of Jesse Waters, but he didn't perfectly quote it. So the judge said, well, it's his words, not Jesse's, because he didn't quote it perfectly right, verbatim. So they violate Trump's gag order because of something Jesse Waters said that Trump was quoting, but he misquoted it, so it means it's his words, so he has to pay $1,000. This is so stupid. This is so ridiculous. This is a travesty. And I hope they put him in jail, and then I hope he wins in a landslide, and then I hope he comes at these judges' necks. Just straight up comes at their necks, at all of them. He said he was too nice in his first time in office. He said he was too nice. Not this time. We're not going to be so nice. In rapid fire, we'll talk about what he said about white people. Basically, he said white people are under attack, and he got a lot of backlash for that this week. And then I would like to find the video from this morning because he was pissed this morning. Like they're saying that he's going to go to jail. So I'm trying to see, but they don't want to play it. None of the news stations want to play it. So like I have an article, or I have a news thing here. Watch this. Let me find this. Okay, so check this out.
Ascension WoW is a standalone World of Warcraft private server that reimagines WoW in a
fundraiser for him.
Okay, there's this. Let's go to this news.
All right, so we have a bit of an update.
This is CBS talking about it this morning. Breaking news this morning that Trump might be going to jail, and Trump is giving his daily speech before court starts. He goes in front of the cameras. He gives a speech. The news is not playing his speech. They're talking. They're running their little bleep suckers over him doing a speech. Why are you not listening to his speech and then do your commentary? Watch.
For you on the Trump so-called hush money trial. You can see the president there. I think this is earlier today, moments ago, walking into the courthouse, doing his usual talking to the cameras. But what we have learned is that the judge has...
See, they make sure to talk over him. They don't want you to hear what he's saying. They make sure to talk over him. And then when I try to find this speech, it's hard to find. I'm sure it's out there somewhere. But all the news people, the CNNs, the CBS, they talk over him while he's giving his speech.
Has once again let's look at this. Found that he has been in contempt for 4 more additional gag order violations. So we don't know which gag order violations this is. The judge didn't specify.
Yeah, I guess well, technically what they're saying is so Jesse Waters violated the gag order, but Jesse Waters doesn't have a gag order. So Trump was quoting Jesse Waters, which is kind of like a way around the gag order. But since he didn't quote it correctly, yes, he paraphrased. They're saying that it was his words, so it does violate the gag order. Yeah, so it's like, it's so crazy. It's so dumb.
But these would be violations, I presume, that occurred after after his initial round of fines for previous violations. You may know that he's been fined, I believe, $9,000 for gag order violations. That's $1,000 each. And the judge says it appears that the $1,000 fines.
Hey, reporter, why are you talking over the person in the video that you're showing, dummy? This is not only is this nefarious, they're doing it on purpose because they don't want you to hear what Trump has to say. So they're gonna show him and they're gonna run their mouths and talk over him and not let you hear him. But also, it's bad production. It's bad TV. You don't talk while there's another small, quiet voice talking in the background on TV. I try not to even do that in my dang YouTube show. So while the reporter's talking in the background, you hear, and you're talking over him. It sounds bad. It is not good quality television.
Are not serving as a deterrent. Therefore, going forward, this court will have to consider a jail sanction if it is recommended. So normally, somebody who has not been the president of the United States could face jail time for these sort of situations. But there's a challenge when it comes to putting a former president.
And never happened before, ever. This is like when kids saw, oh, you said a bad word.
And a current candidate in jail.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you would go about doing it. It's unprecedented. My guess is that also it feeds into what it is that many people have suggested. I think Leslie Sanchez, when she was on last week, mentioned that, this is something that nothing would please him more. Or somebody told me that recently, if it was on the air or somebody else who covers this, that martyring himself by being, sentenced to jail time would be essentially a fundraiser for him.
There's the politics, but then there's also just the business of the court and of jail. This is a man who is followed everywhere by Secret Service. And if he was to be put behind bars, presumably Secret Service would have to be there as well. I don't even know how they would do it.
And I think what you're
Paul on the pot. Yeah, I didn't even notice that I had pot in my title twice because I said pot reclassified and then I said Pol Pot. So it's double pot this week.
What we're seeing here is a person who.
So his name actually is not Pol Pot. Pol Pot means it's like French because he learned about communism in France, the Khmer Rouge that he met in France. I told you nothing good comes from France. You want to know why Pol Pot killed 2 million people and was just offing people in the killing fields? He learned it in France from the commies in France. And then he brought some of them with him to Cambodia. Anyway, this is just a sneak preview. We'll be talking about later. But Pol Pot means politico. It's short for politico potential or something like that. Politico potential or something. It's some French phrase that means like political power or something like that. Salazar. That's his real name, Salazar. Yeah. That sounds right. Yeah. But Pol Pot, I can't remember. We'll learn it later in the show, but it's short. It's short for like politico potentio or something, or some French politico potentio. I don't speak French, but and I never knew that.
Flaunts the law and flaunts the rule of law, and regardless of how he feels about the reasons why he is standing in that courtroom every single day, when a judge gives you, me, anybody, the president of the United States, an edict, no one is above it, no one is above the law or the judge's rulings, and this individual feels that he is, and so that's why we are now. So let's go to CBS News campaign reporter and attorney Katrina Kaufman.
Anyway, I want to find this speech, and then when I look for it, I can't find the dang speech. Usually Forbes releases them. Usually I can find it. Usually Forbes YouTube will show all of his Speeches. Let me see if I can find it. Of course, I'm not looking super hard. I've checked YouTube. That's about it. Trump brands Biden Robin Hood in reverse, stealing from the poor. Yeah, see, I'm not seeing it. They like don't want to put them on. Anyway, so yeah, that's going on. Um, let's see. New York Times is not going to let me show you guys this article. But it's more about him being in contempt. And I think instead of doing this in rapid fire, we'll just talk about it now because we're on the Trump stuff. And I need to stretch this a little longer. Let's just go to the stories that I have from Reels and rapid fire. Trump vows to crush anti-white racism. And Uno Mas, one more article. Let's see. All right, so from USA Today, this happened earlier this week. What's up, Mayhem? They keep throwing mud at him, hoping it'll stick. I know. So, DEI destroyer in chief. Trump vows to crush anti white racism if he wins the 2024 election. He needs to watch my debate from this past weekend, and then he'll understand that racism doesn't exist. Not anti white racism, not no racism exists. But if it exists, then it is probably anti white nowadays. It's definitely not anti anything else. So, lending his voice to anti DEI fervor sweeping the Republican Party, Donald Trump telegraphed a dramatic shift to America's approach to civil rights if he wins a second term as president, vowing to focus on anti white racism, not on racism against people of color. Asked about, because remember, you got to say people of color. Asked about supporters who believe anti-white racism now represents a greater problem than anti-black racism, the former president told Time magazine, "I think there is a definite anti-white feeling in this country that can't be allowed." In the exclusive interview, Trump also said he would use the U.S. military to deport 11 million undocumented immigrants. Let's freaking go. Deploy the National Guard to quash protests and gut the U.S. civil service. Based. Trump is on board with plan to curb affirmative discrimination. Nice. Didn't they already end affirmative action? Led by Heritage Foundation think tank. Heritage Foundation is who runs the Libertarian Party, by the way. Led by the Heritage Foundation think tank, which has helped mold the policies of Republican administrations since the Reagan presidency. See, they say it helps mold the Republican policies. Heritage Foundation is kind of they're centrist. They're a libertarian group. So, and that's why a lot of people believe that libertarian automatically means on the right because they don't know what they're talking about because libertarian is neither right nor left. You can be a leftist libertarian. Expansive project known as Project 2025. Conservative actions have drawn up an expansive plan known as Project 2025 in anticipation of Trump's return to power. One of the goals of the presidential transition plan is reversing the DEI revolution by eliminating policies and programs such as affirmative action, which Project 2025 calls affirmative discrimination. Nice. The plan broadly reflects where Trump's policy stood at the end of his presidency in 2020. In September of that year, his administration issued an executive order prohibiting racial sensitivity training by the federal government and government contractors. The order had an immediate chilling effect on efforts to reverse historical patterns of discrimination and exclusion in the workplace. President Joe Biden rescinded the order after taking office in January 2021. Of course he did. Don't make me get the stick. What? Trump aides, allies. Oh, I already read that. No, I didn't. During the Biden administration, conservative activists picked up the mantle, claiming white workers are being unfairly disadvantaged by DEI initiatives that benefit minorities. Huh. Huh. Who said that before? I've said that before. Everybody said that before. We all know. GOP led legislatures have introduced dozens of bills to restrict DEI in education, state government contracting, and pension investments. Last year's Supreme Court decision striking down affirmative action in college admissions set off a wave of legal challenges from former Trump administration official Stephen Miller and anti affirmative action activist Edward Bloom. Billionaires Elon Musk and Bill Ackman have also assailed DEI efforts as racist. Two men fought for jobs in Rivertown. 50 years later, the nation is still divided. What? Two men fought for jobs in a river town. 50 years later, the nation is still divided? What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. What do they mean? Let's see. Anything else good in this thing? Mark Morial, president of the National Urban League. Urbanites assemble, said conservative activists are advocating for the return of white privilege. Shut up. No, we're advocating for meritocracy and equality, which you claim to be about, fairness in hiring, not doing diversity training at your job where if you say something that hurts somebody's feelings, you're going to get fired because you're a racist, not making white kids and Asian kids have to score higher on the college admission test or the SAT test or whatever they take to get into school. So when people like Jalen say, it's about who's the best qualified, it's the most qualified. No, it's not. It's not about who's the most qualified. It's about what race you are. Because they have to meet a quota. They have to meet their diversity quota. Totally an opinion piece. And all I'm doing, I always do opinions. This is always op-ed, but well, I read a lot of leftist stuff and then I give my thoughts. They're advocating for policies that were used during a segregated America, Memorial told USA Today in March. Corporate America has a diversity problem. Alvin B. Tillery Jr., director of the Center for the Study of Democracy and Diversity at Northwestern University, told USA Today that conservatives vilify DEI and advance false charges of anti-white racism in an attempt to convince Americans that the nation has solved anti-black racism. This is so stupid. This is all dumb. I don't like the anti-white people crying about anti-white racism as much as I don't like anybody crying about racism. There are channels that are all about, and the dudes are pretty based, but all they talk about is anti-white racism, anti-white. They're anti-white, anti-white, anti-white. And I get it, but like, you sound just like them. That's the Marxist mentality, is to believe that we're perpetually in this conflict between the oppressor and the oppressed. That's Marxism. That's the whole core tenet of Marxism. It's an eternal struggle between the oppressor and the oppressed. That's what Pol Pot ended up killing all those people for, because he said the way to solve the problem is to not have two classes of people, not to have a middle class, to just have everybody be peasants. No more urbanites. Pol Pot was trying to, well, he pretty effectively wiped out the whole city, got rid of all the urbanites and turned everybody into farmers so that doctors and lawyers were pretending to be taxi cab drivers so they wouldn't get tied to a bamboo shoot in the dang rice fields and shot to death or whatever they, you know. Oh, we're going to learn about all that later, but just hold on to your butts. Pol Pot was crazy. Yeah. Disciplinary validation. So all that's going on. I think I have one more article on the same thing. In the second term, Trump intends to address a bias against white. A bias against white. It was about a month ago when Axios reported that in a prospective second term for Donald Trump, his team intends to dramatically change the government's interpretation of civil rights era laws to focus on anti-white racism rather than discrimination against people of color. Asked for comment, the Republicans' campaign didn't exactly deny its interest in rolling back policies designed to address systemic racism. Oh, man. It's all a bunch of mess. But it is based that, I guess it's based that Trump's saying it, because I don't see him constantly complaining about that. But the fact that he mentioned it is pretty cool. Because if they're going to play that game, if they're going to play the race game and play the race card all the time, then we can do it too. I just don't like people who constantly dwell on it. Yes, yesterday Steve and Dave and I went over the debate live stream live. I just wanted to say you did a great job on the debate. Thank you, sir. I saw a lot of you guys' stream the other night. I didn't see all of it, but gracias. My sister is a lawyer in New Jersey, New York. She and I discussed the system in the U.S., and I think we uncovered how the perversion of the system makes a de facto ruling class by turning would-be seats of regulation into the vanguard for the moneyed class. If not the vanguard, then at least the Praetorian Guard. I don't know what you're talking about, Thomas. You're talking too many big words. Too many big words. No, I'm kidding. All right, so that's your Trump updates for the week. We'll keep our eye on Trump until election time. Now we got to do our Biden update. So this actually is this is actually a story from like a month ago that we didn't talk about, but the Ashley Biden diary has been verified like 5 times, and it's just been verified again recently, and kind of flew under the radar. I didn't even catch this story, but the girl who took the diary allegedly stole the diary, which was Ashley Biden's diary, which we probably were told that it was Russian disinformation and we're not allowed to talk about it on social media. But Ashley Biden wrote a letter to the judge to make sure that the girl that took the diary went to jail for stealing a diary. Meanwhile, illegal immigrants can attack police officers and they get released the next day. This girl's going to do months in jail for taking a diary. Why? Because of what the diary says in it. And apparently I forget who it was, but some lady on Twitter was saying that Hunter Biden has a problem with a crackhead in his family, and it's not Hunter Biden. Now, Ashley went through a lot of traumatic experiences as a young girl. Could you imagine taking a shower with Joe Biden, as a little girl? That'll screw anybody up. So I can understand why she has drug problems. If he was my dad, I'd have drug problems too. But so this is from like a month ago. We're going to find out about how she got the girl who took the diary put into jail. Ashley Biden, the daughter of President, this is from CNBC, MSDNC. Ashley Biden, the daughter of President Joe Biden, asked a judge to sentence the woman who stole her diary to prison, an unsealed letter shows. The district judge, Laura Taylor Swain, unsealed a highly emotional letter more than 3 weeks after sentencing Amy Harris. The judge sentenced Harris to 1 month in federal jail and 3 months of home detention. So see, this is like same thing that happened to Owen Schroyer. I did not know that you could get just a month. Well, it's federal jail. Is federal jail different than federal prison? That's just crazy. A 1 month federal jail sentence. Ashley Biden, the daughter of President Joe Biden, wrote a judge to say she would not attend the criminal sentencing earlier this month of the woman who stole her diary because it would only increase my pain. The highly emotional letter was unsealed by U.S. District Judge Laura Taylor Swain more than 3 weeks after the judge sentenced Amy Harris to 1 month in federal jail and 3 months of home detention. My goal in asking Your Honor to impose a term of incarceration is to ensure that another woman isn't bullied and shamed like this ever again, Ashley Biden wrote. You mean exposed? The despair I have often felt will never truly go away. But I ask Your Honor to hold Miss Harris accountable so that she thinks twice before doing it to someone else. And it's unfortunate that we have to drag Ashley's name through the mud because her dad's crazy. But it does show this is something we need to know about our president. Both your kids are on crack. You did weird stuff with your daughter, and now she's damaged because of it. And one of your kids is sleeping with foreign prostitutes who could be underage. They're both doing drugs. Like, how are you this great father? You can't run your family, but you're gonna run the country? That's not the way this works. You have to be a good individual, then a good father, you know, build a good family, and then work with your community before you get to run the country. So that's a mess. Harris, 41, was also ordered to serve 3 years of probation and to forfeit the $20,000 she received for selling the stolen diary. Dang, she got $20K for it. Harris pleaded guilty in 2022 to conspiring 2 years earlier with Robert Kurlander, 61, to steal Biden's diary and other items from the Florida home where Biden had previously lived and to transport them over state lines for sale to the right-wing group Project Veritas. Project Veritas did not publish the diary, but another right-wing outlet did shortly before the 2020 presidential election, which Joe Biden won. Right, and we were all told it was fake. It was Russia disinformation, just like the laptop. But it turned out to be real. They still won't even say that it was real, even though the girl who stole the real diary that was real is going to jail for a month. Going to jail for a month for stealing a $20,000 piece of property, because as soon as you sell it for $20K, that's the value of it. That is a felony. That is felony theft. So I'm not saying the girl shouldn't go to jail. I just think the letter that Ashley wrote to the judge saying, "My pain, oh, I've been bullied, blah, blah, blah," and then the girl gets locked in jail is kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. Let's see what BBC has to say about it. BBC! U.S. woman who stole Ashley Biden's diary sentenced to a month in prison. Pretty much the same thing here. The Palm Beach, Florida resident said she received $20,000 from Project Veritas, a group that conducts hidden camera stings targeting news outlets, governor officials, and politicians. The court ordered her to forfeit the money. Judge Laura Taylor Swain called Harris's action despicable and consequently very serious. Ashley Biden stored a diary and other items at that house that she had stayed at in Delray Beach, Florida in 2020. The property's owner later allowed Harris to stay at the house. She found Miss Biden's items and, along with a co-defendant, Robert Kurlander, attempted to sell the diary to Donald Trump's presidential campaign. When the Trump campaign didn't bite, the pair approached Project Veritas. Kurlander has also pleaded guilty and will be sentenced at a later date. They searched the home of Project Veritas founder and 2 employees. Mr. O'Keefe and Project Veritas have not been charged in the case, and Mr. O'Keefe later left the organization. Project Veritas did not publish the diaries, which allegedly detailed Miss Biden's recovery from substance addiction. A different right-wing outlet later published what it said were the diaries with minor redactions. Anyway, so that's what's happening with that. Let's see the fact check. Let's see what Yahoo's fact check is saying. Fact check. Posts claim content of Ashley Biden's diary have been verified. Here are the facts. Yeah, they've been verified like 5 times. True. We got a true rating. Let's go. We got one. A diary authored by U.S. President Joe Biden's daughter describes actions taken toward her by her father when she was a child as probably not appropriate. Fact check. True. This is true. It's been verified multiple times. On April 29, 2024, Snopes changed the rating of this fact check from unproven to true, based on testimony provided by Ashley Biden. So it took them till April 2024 to verify a story that we knew was verified, 4 years ago? 2022 or 2020, 2 to 4 years ago? Previous versions of this fact check noted strong evidence that the diary existed, but argued that no source had authenticated the contents of the pages published online, writing that the authenticity of photographs purported to be from a diary that is a separate question from the factual existence of the diary. I wonder if I can find Pictures of it. Let's see. Here's something from Quora. Grade and showing the buys my underpants hypersexualized at a young age. What does this due to? Was I molested? I think so. I can't remember specifics, but I do remember. I remember the Woozlak's house. I remember somewhat being sexualized with Caroline. I remember having sex with friends at a young age. Something with my dad. Showers with my dad, probably not appropriate. Being turned on when I wasn't supposed to be. Damn, Ashley. So we do have some pictures of the diary here. You know, Candace Owens was sharing it. Remember the Q-tips? I hated getting my ears cleaned, having something my vajayjay due to overhearing my parents having sex. Braiding, br- he beating, braiding my vajayjay due to overhearing parents having sex. My mother not emotionally available. My father was message I could get love from men. I'm not your mother. Blanket being taken away. Oh, they took her blanket away. Uh-oh. Not letting myself go to the bathroom, being wiped until too late in the game. Being wiped until too late in the game. I don't know what that means. I could list all of the reasons, but I can't seem to find. So, diary's legit. Ashley Biden is the second person in the Biden family that has made incestuous sexual allegations. Do not forget about Hunter's laptop and the text messages about his niece. These are accounts directly from the Biden family, not conspiracies. That's from Candace on X. So, interesting stuff. Just some little updates, but it is fact checked as true. It is verified. The girl is going to jail for taking the diary. And Joe Biden is verified a creep. Creep. Creep card verified. Creep card holder verified. So that's interesting. Ugh. What are we listening to? You're listening to Ashley Biden's diary. It's an oldie but a goodie. It's an old story, but it's a good one. We gotta stay updated. Updated. All right, let's move on. Enough presidential nonsense. Let's move on. They're trying to reclassify marijuana. They're trying to federally reclassify marijuana. Legalization's been a big thing. Talked about it before. Jack Herer, one of the biggest advocates for pot. I read a lot of his stuff when I was younger, and I was real into pot, and I was real into advocating for legalization. Back when I was young and dumb, didn't realize that, oh, that's just a plan to dumb down, demoralize, and get more taxes out of the American people. Let's turn everybody into a stone zombie pothead walking around in a haze because they're smoking 99% vape cartridges, double barreling two vapes at the same blowing meth clouds, it looks like, of 99% THC vape juice when they're like 12 years old, and their growth gets stunted, their brain development gets stunted, and we have a bunch of retarded zombies walking around. And that's all part of the plan. Have a pot shop on every corner and have a liquor store across the street. Pretty soon, you'll have the dang fentanyl dispensary right next door to the pot shop, right next door to the methadone clinic, right next door to the liquor store, right next door to the homeless shelter, right next door to the encampment, right in the middle of the city. That's the plan. That's what the Democrats want. I've never done an episode about the homeless industry, the homeless industrial complex, how Democrat cities make more money from growing their homeless population so that they can then say that they're putting it back. They're going to solve the problem of homelessness, so they need more money. And then they take that money and they grow their homeless population because then they make more money off of the homeless people. This is a well kept secret that your homeless problems in your city is by design. They want homeless people there. They want people on drugs. They want to wipe out. They want to make us all dumbed down and complacent and demoralized. When you're dumbed down and you're demoralized, the reverse Flynn effect, the average IQ of Americans is dropping for the first time in history. And they want all of that. They want us all dumbed down, complacent, demoralized, because then you're easier to control. Angry. When you're angry and you're dumb, you're irrational. And that's what they want, because those people are easier to control. So they're talking about, oh, what I was saying about Jack Harris. Jack Harris said legalization was a bad idea. Why? Because he said, how they say weed is a gateway drug. He said, if they legalize pot, then pot becomes like cigarettes. And then things like cocaine and mushrooms become what pot was. And then it won't be long before you have people begging to legalize cocaine and mushrooms and ketamine. What do we see now? As soon as they start legalizing pot, now they're pushing mushrooms and ketamine as a depression treatment. And you can go get a therapist to inject you with cat tranquilizer. And you can sit and trip balls in a psychotherapist chair. And they can sit there with a notepad and analyze your trip. And that's going to cure your depression. It's ridiculous. And it's happening. Washington just revoked a couple years ago. They legalized small amounts of hardcore drugs. Their overdose rate from fentanyl skyrocketed over 500% within a year. So now they're taking that back. But that's exactly what Jack Harris said would happen. Once you start legalizing pot, now everybody's a pothead. Now pot is like cigarettes. So now we got to legalize the next thing. Let's legalize mushrooms and ketamine and cocaine. Let's declassify those drugs, make those legal. And they're doing it. They have injection sites in some of these cities where you can take your dirty street heroin and you can go in and you can get clean fentanyl, medical grade fentanyl, and they will inject it in your arm for you at the place. And then you can hang out in a chair in a room with a bunch of druggies and just sit there high. You don't have to go outside in the weather. Danny Mullen did a video where he went into an injection site, a place where they get injected with drugs, with opiates, with heroin or fentanyl, clean stuff. They trade in their dirty stuff for clean stuff. They get it shot into their arm, and then they get to sit in a chair and nod out without having to worry about cops or weather, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of homeless people just go in there in the morning, get shot up, and then they nod out in the chair all day. Danny Mullen went into one of these places with a 12-pack of beer. And they're like, what are you doing here? He's like, we just want to hang out and get drunk. And they said, you can't do that here. He said, why not? This is a drug center where you get high with fentanyl and you get to sit in a chair and nod out all day. These people get to hang out here high. We can't get drunk here? That don't make no sense. And they kicked him out, which is crazy. So you can't go in. If you're homeless and you're a drunk, you got to stay in the streets because they want to make sure you end up in jail. But if you're a fentanyl addict, you can get high in the dang opium den. That's right, Nada. It's so ridiculous. But let's look at this. They're saying it's going to help with science, so they can do more science with pot by reducing the regulations. But it also could open doors where a lot of states may look towards decriminalization, medical legalization, and potentially recreational, which I think is all a bad idea. It's all dumb. It's stupid. It's dangerous. And they're just going to dumb down and control everybody. Jack Harris said the way that they should do it is it should not be illegal to grow your own marijuana. I agree with that. It should not be illegal to smoke your own marijuana in the privacy of your own home. I can agree with that. I can be okay with that. So decriminalization, what would be illegal is selling marijuana. So he said just make it illegal to buy or sell marijuana. That way, if people want to grow pot and smoke pot and share it with their friends, share it with their family, that's fine. But if you're selling weed like the government's doing, if you're setting up a pot shop down the street from a school and you're making money off of it, then the love of the dollar becomes the problem, because then they want to push it out to as many people as possible. They'll sell pot to young kids who are on their way to elementary school because they can make money off of that kid's lunch money. That's a problem. Drug dealers on every corner, pot shops on every corner. That's a problem. Somebody growing a plant in their backyard and giving it to their neighbor for free, I don't have a problem with that. Neither did Jack Herer. That was his solution. His solution was never legalization. All these potheads that are like, yeah, I'm a pot advocate. I love Jack Herer, but I also love legalizing weed. We need to just legalize all the weed. No, Jack Herer never said that. Jack Herer was not pro that because he knew it would lead to problems, and it has. So let's see. Justice Department, this is from CBS News. Justice Department will move to reclassify marijuana in a historic shift, sources say. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration will move to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug as soon as Tuesday, tomorrow. CBS News has learned a historic shift to generations of American drug policy that could have wide ripple effects across the country. The DEA's proposal, which still must be reviewed by the White House Office of Management and Budget, would recognize the medical uses of cannabis and acknowledge it has less potential for abuse than some of the nation's most dangerous drugs. However, it would not legalize marijuana outright for recreational use. The agency's move, first reported by the Associated Press and confirmed to CBS News on Tuesday by two people familiar with the matter, clears the last significant regulatory hurdle before the agency's biggest policy change in more than 50 years can take effect. Oh, they're not going to let me read anymore. That's okay. I have it straight from AP here. AP, let's see. AP says U.S. poised to ease restrictions on marijuana in historic shift, but it'll remain a controlled substance.
Since 1848,
There's going to be it. We'll skip this ad real quick.
Administration will move to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug, sources have told the Associated Press. It's a historic shift for generations of American drug policy, and it could have wide ripple effects across the country.
I just read that.
There are still multiple layers of review that have to be done on the Biden administration proposal. Still, it would recognize the medical uses of cannabis and acknowledge it has less potential for abuse than some of the nation's most dangerous drugs. But it would not legalize marijuana outright for recreational use. Marijuana is currently classified as a Schedule 1.
Yeah, if you want to be on a list, of all the potheads in America, go get your medical card. Go get your medical card so you can overspend money for more chemicals instead of just buying it from the guy at the park. Go do that. You're a genius. That's really smart. People are, dude. Oh my God, people are so dumb. People are so dumb. And they love telling you about it. They always want to tell you their newest. Look at my new strain I got, man. I got the new strain here. Shut up. Nobody cares. Just smoke your pot. Nobody cares about the fruity looty tutti fruity and the percentages of the THC. Oh, this is a sativa hybrid indica. Blah. Shut up. Smoke your pot. Jesus. Nobody cares. Is she just reading the article in the video? Yeah, they do that a lot, Mayhem. I don't even know why I read the articles and then I play the videos, because they always do this. It's like a bit on the show where I read it and then I play it and then they just say what I just read. Don't dox the guy at the park. Bro, the guy at the park is chill. And it blows my mind that he's got the same stuff they got at the dispensary for half the price. And then people will go to the dispensary and spend extra money, spend more money on less, But they're like, "Yo, this comes in a cool jar, though." God, grow up, people. What is wrong with you? I know the guy at the park. Everybody knows the guy at the park. And I smoke pot. And I'm telling the potheads, cut it out. Grow up. You're on a list now. You're trying to make your life better? Let's get on a list because I want to be a pothead. And now what they do is, so like a job might drug test you, and they're not going to hire you if you have pot in your system. And pot stays in your system longer than anything else. Somebody called JLP a couple days ago, and they're like, "Hey, JLP, I'm trying to get into this thing, but I'm a pothead and I have to be clean." And then it's asking him about drug tests and stuff. I'm like, why are you calling JLP with this? You know he's not going to answer. I know a show you could call in and you could ask about things like this. It's called the jsurbanadventures show. I'll tell you exactly how to pass that test. But just know that if they surprise test you, you're not going to be able to pass it in time. And also, what they do now is so they drug test you. And so what the potheads do is they figure out, well, medical weed is legal here in Utah. So they drug test you. You fail if you have pot in your system. But if you have a medical card, you're allowed to get hired. Potheads can be. Now, why wouldn't they want to hire a pothead? Let's see. Workplace accidents, laziness, lethargy, people walking around slow and out of it, and there's customers around. You need to be able to talk to somebody and look them in the eye and be coherent in what you're saying. If you get hurt and you're on pot, then that makes insurance claims problems and blah, 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 and workman's comp and all that stuff, all those issues. So there's a lot of reasons why a company doesn't want to hire a pothead. But if medical weed is legal and you have your I'm on a list, I can never own a gun card, and I basically was made a felon as soon as I bought this card, you know, or I own a gun and I signed a paper that says I'm not on drugs, and then I got a pot card that says I am on drugs, and now I'm on a list that says I'm a potential terrorist because I'm a pothead gun owner. Like, that's what's happening. So they're like, well, I could get the job if I just get my medical card. So they voluntarily put themselves into that data bank so that they can get a $20 an hour job and keep smoking pot. And then when they get hurt at work, they don't get any workman's comp, and they don't get any days off or anything like that because they're potheads. If you get your medical card, you aren't allowed to own a firearm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know, a lot of these people already can't own a firearm. So they're like, well, why not? Just get the pot card. Why not? You know, I can barely afford to live my daily life, but I'm going to spend $300 a month on pot from the dispensary, which I could have spent $30 on at the park, but I want to get the fancy stuff from the dispensary because it's good, it's cleaner, and it's better. Bro, you can't afford your rent. Why are you buying pot right now? Stop it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know. It's a whole mess. But anyway, so thinking about declassifying it, from NPR, scientists welcome new rules on marijuana, but research will still face obstacles. So this is what I was saying. It's going to affect science, the science of pot. They're going to be able to study it more, do more experiments with it if federal regulations lighten up. As the Biden administration moves to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug, scientists say the change will lift some of the restrictions on studying the drug. Also, this is very convenient timing. Right before an election, we know a huge portion of the voting base are single issue voters that could care nothing about anything politically related. They just want legalized pot. When I first got interested in politics, it was because I wanted to vote to legalize pot. The first video on this YouTube channel is me voting for the first time in my life. And I had just got registered to vote because I was at the park at Drum Circle, and these hippies were walking around with a clipboard getting people registered to vote. Hippies getting people registered to vote? That's odd. Why? Well, because on that ballot, I think it was called like Proposition 87 or something. On that ballot was pot legalization medically. And I was involved with going to like pot conventions where they were talking about getting it legalized medically. And so at the park, I got registered to vote. I told them I'm a felon. I don't think I can vote. They said, no, you can vote in Utah. And I said, okay, let's vote. So I got registered to vote. And all I cared about was getting pot legalized. Now, once I went through that experience and got to vote, got to get involved in politics and learn about it and stuff, then I realized the nefarious plot about making us all dumb, poor, lazy, useful idiots. Once I realized the plot, I got more into politics, and I just, started getting into other things. But a lot of people, a lot of young kids, especially college age kids, the girls, all they care about is killing babies. The guys, all they care about is getting high. So when Joe Biden does this right before an election, all the potheads, all the libertarians, the libertarians who don't care about anything except guns and weed. All they want is guns and weed, guns and weed. And it's funny, when you get your weed, you lose your guns. Good job, guys. Good job, libertarians. They're going to eat this up. They're going to love this. I've always smoked. The legal status never seemed to matter to me for some reason. Yeah, I think it also became less cool. As soon as it got legalized, it became less cool. Like, you're not cool anymore. You're just a government shill. You're just another useful idiot paying the government. You're just paying an extra tax now. Now you're getting taxed on your pot. You could get a 20 sack, or you could go to the pot store and you could get $5 worth for $20. You're an idiot. You're a useful idiot. Like, stop it. Getting high versus killing babies. Yeah. That's what a lot of that's democracy. Hey, we gotta love American democracy, where the potheads can vote for the president that's most likely to legalize weed, and the baby killers can vote for the president who's most likely to let you kill your babies. That's American democracy for you. Gotta love it. Gotta love democracy. The charges won't lift all restrictions, they say. Neither will it decrease potential risk of the drug or help users better understand what the risks are. Marijuana is currently classified as a Schedule I controlled substance, which is defined as a substance with no accepted medical use and high potential for abuse. Now, see, I disagree with that. So I'm kind of okay with lessening the schedule, lower punishments for getting caught with it, things like that. I do support medical marijuana being used medicinally, but I have to be very careful with this, because as soon as they made medical weed legal, it's not really medical. They don't really write a real prescription for marijuana because they haven't isolated all the different isotopes. They don't know exactly what all the different chemicals in pot do to us. So, but some of them they have mapped out how they work in our body, and they figured it out exactly. Like this THCA and this CBD5 and this OBD, they have codes and letters for all the different chemicals that are in pot, and they've figured out this one can help with this. If you have glaucoma, this one can help you. If you're a child who has seizures, we can give you Charlotte's Web in a drop form that you drop in their mouth, and their seizure will stop instantly. And the kid's not getting high. They figured out how to ratio the CBDs to the THCs in a way that some of these medical pots don't get you high. You smoke it, you get hungry, for cancer patients who can't eat. They're going through chemo, they can't eat. They'll eat a gummy or they'll smoke a little bit. It'll give them an appetite. It'll help them sleep if they can't sleep. Things like that. The problem is that every idiot who my back hurts. Oh, I have back pain, or I'm depressed. I have anxiety. My depression and my anxiety, my back pain. I need pot. And then The fake doctor gives them a fake prescription that they're like, I have a prescription from a doctor. No, idiot, that's not a doctor and that's not a prescription. And you can't prescribe marijuana to somebody because they don't know what everything in it does. There is no real prescription for marijuana. Back in the day, they had Marinol, which was like a medical prescribed form of marijuana, a pill that you could take that would do some of the same things as pot. But yeah, your pot is not helping your depression. It's not helping your anxiety. It's not helping your back pain. It's not, well, I mean, when you're stoned, I guess you could say it helps everything. I need medical marijuana on days when it's too cold. I smoke pot and I feel warmer. So that's why I need my medical marijuana, because I medically get too cold. It's been snowing for the past like 2 days, by the way, which is ridiculous. It's freaking May. And it's been snowing for 2 days. Cold and wet and rainy and dark and snowing. Bullcrap. I need some pot. I need some medical marijuana to warm me up. So stupid. Ketchup is definitely not a good condiment for women. What? I took it medically for years, chronic pain issues. Yeah. Yeah, I bet you did. Did it ever cure your pain? It didn't make your pain go away either. You just got high and you forgot about your pain. That's what happened. It helps with physical pain and getting through doing things. Yeah, well, so does heroin. Should we legalize that for chronic pain? Oh, the Sacklers already did, and they made millions and millions of dollars off of killing all kinds of people. Great. Great. Great idea. The Biden administration proposed this week to classify cannabis as a Schedule III controlled substance, a category that acknowledges it has some medical benefits. I think that's fair. It's just interesting the timing that it's happening right before an election. He's going to get all the stoner pothead college kids and all the libertarians with this. Because that's all they care about. The libertarians, all they care about is making sure we got guns and weed. That's it. Some of them want to legalize all drugs. Some of the extreme libertarians, they want to legalize everything. And defund police and abolish the police, legalize all the drugs. That sounds like a recipe for a great America right there. That sounds like a genius idea. Let's get rid of the police and legalize all the drugs, legalize abortion. Shoot, let's just legalize murder. You know, give all the illegal immigrants guns, give all the criminals guns, let them out of the jails, legalize the drugs, legalize murder. Great. That's no more cops. Sounds like an amazing America. So when that happens, I'm moving to Hungary. You guys can keep your little freedoms. I'm going to Hungary. I'm going to go somewhere with an authoritarian dictator, Christian, white Christian, not American, white Christian, Hungarian, authoritarian rulership. I'm going to go there. You can stay in America and watch it burn. Foolish. There will be dispensaries that have organic. There will still be dispensaries that have organic. Yeah, I don't care. It's still a nefarious plot to dumb down, demoralize, and weaken America. Oh, the slippery slope going up. I just don't like being high all the time. They make like I was just saying, they make medical weed that doesn't get you high. If there's a certain ratio of CBD to THC, you won't get high. Yeah, if you want to grow some on your land and smoke it in your house and share it with your neighbors, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Now, maybe I do have a problem with it. Actually, if you have kids, then you shouldn't be allowed to do it. Because I don't want all this stuff like the whole do as the whole no harm principle and do as thou wilt, and the, like the libertarian worldview of like, I don't care what an adult does in their house under their roof as long as they're not hurting anybody. The problem is when those people have children, the children see what the adults do and the children want to emulate the adults. So you're perpetuating this harmful habit to the kids. That's when it becomes a problem. Like, people will say, I don't want gay marriage because I'm a Christian and it's a religious institution. We don't want you forcing this on us, on our religious institutions, but I don't care what you do in your house under your roof. Yeah, that sounds good until they adopt 3 small children, and then they're doing what they're doing under their roof with a bunch of small children watching them. That's when it becomes a problem. So if we don't want kids to do it, we shouldn't be letting adults do it either. And I think that includes pot. So if you have kids, no, you're not allowed to grow pot. You're not allowed to smoke pot in your house around your kids. Nope. Nope. As soon as there's a child in that house, you don't have those rights anymore. Your rights. Now, you can still do it, but we're going to banish you to the mountains. My favorite is Apacoco Gold. Anyway, legalize everything, including the townsfolk, getting rid of the problems in our communities. Please don't protect our border. They will arrest us if we protect ourselves. Make you think. Citizen policing? Yeah, it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. That leads to everybody killing each other. The same people who are saying defund the police and abolish the police wanted citizens policing, and then when the McMichaels went up and shot Ahmaud Arbery, they quieted down that narrative real fast. They're like, oh, maybe we don't want citizen police because people will just start shooting each other. We have guns in America. Anyway, okay, last thing, I want to look at some of the stats because you hear a lot of conflicting things. Before we end this, I just want to check some of these stats out. The effect of state marijuana legalization's 2021 update. In November 2012, Colorado and Washington approved ballot initiatives that legalize marijuana for recreational use under state law. Since then, 9 additional states, Alaska, Oregon, California, Nevada, Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts, Michigan, and Illinois, plus the District of Columbia, have followed suit either by ballot initiative or legislative action. Voters in 4 other states, New Jersey, South Dakota, Arizona, and Montana, approved state ballot measures legalizing marijuana for personal use in November 2020 election. So supporters and critics make numerous claims about state-level marijuana legalizations. Advocates suggest that legalization reduces crime, raises tax revenue, lowers criminal justice expenditures, improves public health, increases traffic safety, and stimulates the economy. Critics argue that legalization spurs marijuana and other drug or alcohol use, increases crime, diminishes traffic safety, harms public health, and lowers teen educational achievement. So what the potheads say is that it fixes all these things, and then the critics argue, no, it hurts all these things. So we're going to look at these stats. Our earlier conclusion was that the strong claims made by both advocates and critics are substantially overstated and in some cases entirely without real-world support. At the time, our data showed that state-level legalization of marijuana had generally minor effects. One notable exception was the increase in state revenue from legalized marijuana sales, right? Because they tax it. States with legal marijuana markets have collected millions of dollars in state tax revenues. I wonder what they're doing with that money. Making more pot shops? As of July 2020, all but 2 jurisdictions with legalized marijuana had opened the door for retail sales. Although both Vermont and District of Columbia officially allow marijuana consumption, neither permits the substance to be bought or sold on the market. New data reinforce our earlier conclusions. Even with 2 additional years, however, the data available for before and after comparisons are limited, so our assessments of the effects of legalization remain tentative. Nevertheless, the existing data provide a useful perspective on what other states should expect from legalization or related policies. Where's the stats? I just want the stats. Key dates, marijuana and other substance use. Okay. Past year marijuana use rate. Climbing, 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 climbing. Okay. In every state where it was legalized, usage has climbed pretty noticeably. What is this percentage of what? Source: National Survey on Drug Use, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. In many states, use increased mostly in the years leading up to legalization. For example, Maine's participation rate hovered around 12 to 13%. Participation rate 12 to 13%. Does that mean 12 to 13% of the population is high in 2003? And now it's all the way up to 24%, 27. So 12 to 13% participation rate in 2003, 24% in 2018. Same thing in Massachusetts. Pattern previously seen an increased use and prevalence over the few years leading up to legalization. California's pre-trend is less pronounced. Nevada's is flat. Years since legalization. But it is going up. Crazy. Okay, so usage is going up, but it was climbing before they legalized it. That's just because everybody's a dang pothead now. Monthly price of marijuana. The price, according to this, has dropped due to legalization, which I don't. How do they know this? Like, are they just going off of what people said? Because I disagree. I think if you're buying from the guy at the park, you're spending less than if you're going to the dispensary. So these numbers are saying that leading up to legalization, the amount people was spending on pot was dropping. After legalization, it continued to drop and then it kind of plateaued. Right. Because once the market's flooded, once everybody can start growing it legally, the market gets flooded and then it plateaus. Convergence in prices across states is consistent with the idea that legalization diverts marijuana commerce from underground markets to legal retail shops. Yeah, but it's more expensive there and it's taxed. I don't believe this. I believe if people were buying it on the streets, they're spending less. And if there's less people using and those people are buying it on the streets, then the amount spent monthly on pot is less. But there also would be no way to keep track of that because if it's illegal, people aren't going to take part in this poll. So I don't trust these numbers. This seems very this data doesn't seem solid. I don't know how they could really figure that out. What else? Health and suicides. Previous studies have suggested a link between medicalization of marijuana and a lower suicide rate, particularly among demographics most likely to use marijuana. Males aged 20 to 39. Fighting age males, by the way. Fighting age males. That's the most common people to be smoking pot. Others claim marijuana can be an effective treatment for bipolar disorder, depression, and other mood disorders. Yeah, when you're retarded, you don't have time to be depressed. Not to mention a safer alternative to alcohol. Moreover, the pain relieving element of medical marijuana may help patients avoid more harmful prescription painkillers and tranquilizers. Conversely, certain studies suggest excessive marijuana use may increase the risk of depression, schizophrenia, unhealthy drug use, and anxiety. Yeah, now we got a bunch of schizos smoking pot, which makes it worse. Some research also warns about long lasting cognitive damage if marijuana is consumed regularly, especially at a young age. Crime. The tremendous displays yearly suicide rate relative to the number of is difficult to see any association between marijuana legalization and changes in suicide trends. Okay, what about crime? Crime and road safety. In addition to health outcomes, affect crime rates. Opponents of marijuana believe it can increase crime rates through psychopharmacological effects on the user. In the lead up to 2012 referendums in the state surveyed police chiefs, governors, policymakers, and concerned citizens spoke out against marijuana, citing its purported links to crime. For example, blah, 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 more kids using marijuana and pot for sale everywhere. They also argued that expanding drug crime. Okay, I know what they argued. I want to see the Figure 8. Where's figure 8? Where's figure 8? Figure 8 in the appendix represents monthly violent crime rates in legalizing states, average from 2008. Most state trends track the U.S. trend leading up to legalization, with the graph difference essentially flat. Post-legalization's trend in many states tracked by the national trend, while violent crime in Maine and Nevada decreased by 90 and 178 crimes per 100,000. Compared with the I can believe that. I can believe that a bunch of potheads lowers crime. I can believe that. You ain't trying to rob a house when you're just smoked a blunt. You're trying to eat a dang little Debbie cake and watch some cartoons. You're not trying to rob nobody. So I can believe this. Less violent crime. I can believe that. More zombied out. But if you gave everybody fentanyl, I bet that would lower the crime too, because a lot of them would die. A lot of them would be comatose. They wouldn't be able to move. So get some fresh stoop waffle. I've always carried ever since I got out of the army. MJ can mess with your head, though. Yes, it can. Economic outcomes. I just care about the road safety. So, violent crime, that makes sense. But what about non-violent crime? What about people stealing a Mountain Dew? I bet you that went up because they don't got no money to buy it because they spend it all on pot. Now they got the munchies and they're dipping out with a dang Mountain Dew. Violent crime has neither soared nor plummeted in the wake of marijuana legalization. Last but not least, let's look at road safety. The difference in driving fatalities between the 11 states included in this policy analysis and U.S. average relative to the year of legalization, measured in fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. In most states, the trend remained relatively flat post legalization. Oregon's fatality rate began increasing prior to legalization and has continued to increase. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration also tracks traffic fatalities linked to marijuana and alcohol use. We focus on total traffic fatalities because there's likely some substance between the driver under the influence of alcohol and under the influence of marijuana. The relevant measure for public safety is the net effect. The concern is not whether marijuana-related fatalities increase, but rather whether any increase is offset by fewer fatalities under the influence of alcohol. In addition, post-legalization policy may check for marijuana use more vigorously than before, rendering the substance-specific data non-comparable over time. Right, and it's hard to really know with pot because you could be driving and you could be totally sober and not stoned at all. And you could have smoked a joint 5 days before and it would still show up in your drug test. So, whereas alcohol is out, a beer is out within an hour. So you have to have drunk. If you get pulled over and get a drunk driving charge, you were probably drinking fairly recently to when you got pulled over. Whereas pot, you could have smoked a week ago and it's still going to show up on the test. Like how, and then what are they going to give you a driving under the influence for that? Or so it's tough. So mm, some of these numbers, I don't know if I trust them. You can never trust a pothead, but that's from the Cato Institute. Um, so not huge changes in these numbers, but we do see huge changes throughout the country since marijuana has been legalized. And we know that none of those states are ever going to vote red again. We know that. So there's that. But that's all I got to talk about regarding pot and all that stuff. Those are all the main story news things. We're going to burn through some memes, some reels, some rapid fire, hopefully within 30 minutes. Open on new window. Yes. Uno momento. Man, we're not going to have a lot of time for Pol Pot. 100% legalization would work. It would work to destroy America. That's what it would work. It would be very helpful in helping this country burn, becoming a communist um, sanctuary. It'll work at doing that. That's what it'll work for. Let's see. If you want to be like France, that sounds like a great idea. I think Pol Pot was smoking pot. Oh, maybe. You think he was a pothead? Hold on one second. Let me find this folder. All right, guys. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for the memes! We got memes, baby. Imagine growing up in this generation. Look at these books. Imagine growing up in this generation and going to the library, and these are the books you see. I Am Rosa Parks. Stevie Wonder. She Persisted. Oh. Black Ballerinas. I Dissent. Oh, that's what's her name? Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Makes Her Mark. Dr. Fauci, the children's book. Kamala Harris, Rooted in Justice, another children's book. Ooh, the Rainbow Pride children's book. Nancy Pelosi, Seat at the Table. Are You My Friend? Turning Pages. ABCs of Black History. Braden Speaks Up. Braden's probably gay. Rise Up and Write It. Martin Rising. Oh, look at Martin Rising. Like a Girl. Oh, feminist. Some feminist propaganda. I Affirm Me. This is the children's book section of Barnes & Noble or a library. Imagine growing up in this generation. Next. When you try to stay sober, but you keep hallucinating. He's brushing his teeth in it. No! It chases me everywhere I go. Next. Geico, you could save 30% or more by switching back to Trump. Ooh!
It's a man, baby.
That's right. We got lots of memes. We got to go fast. These are extremely rare sneakers. Have you had the Rare Force ones? Bro, those look like some delicious sneakers right there. Hey. I'm down for some of them. These are terrible. No wonder kids don't want to read. Right. Exactly. That's the retard section. Oh, man. Next. You guys could thank Stubborn One for these. He sent them last week. We stand with you. We stand with you, Palestine. The LGBT mouse. They have a different flag now, by the way. It's not the same. They have like a different flag every week. But thanks, Ribbit. Oh. Look at this frog just ate this damn gay mouse. Palestine frog just ate the gay mouse. Idiocracy. 2026. Funny movie. Ha 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 ha. 2012. Yeah, it's pretty funny. 2018. This is starting to be a little too real. 2024. What the? It's come true. The movie's come true. Oh my god. Okay, next. We live in a time where intelligent people are being silenced so that stupid people won't get offended. Yep.
Beta.
Next. The entire Greek mythology. Greek mythology of Zeus wasn't horny. Yep. There is none of it. It's just a little pamphlet. A small little piece of book. The They Them doll. Get your new They Them doll. It comes with Starbucks, flags, multiple bright hair colors, aposematic mechanism face, some glasses. Now with more pronouns. Next. Okay, we got some guy eating pizza. We got Chad woman, trad wife, a bunch of little Chad babies, dog. It says, you're just going to lift weights, read old books, buy land, raise a loving family, and ignore the news forever? Yes. Yes. Yes, that's what I'm going to do.
It's a man, baby.
Next. When the government starts getting a little big for its britches and you remember Marvin Heemeyer. Marvin Heemeyer. Remember, that's Killdozer. Speaking of Killdozer, have you heard of the Killing Fields? Next. I want to fight climate change. Be honest. I am being honest. Be honest. I want communism. Thank you. You don't want to fight communism, or you don't want to fight climate change. You just want to be a commie. Go away, Baton. I need to watch it. Idiocracy is a documentary. Yes, it is. Bedazzled Cry Closet sold separately. Bedazzled Cry Closet sold separately. Sparkly Closet. Next. Ted Nugent official. The best thing about conservative women, the bulge in their pants is not a penis. Oh, damn.
It's a man, baby.
Now, I'm gonna retort with this. The worst thing about conservative women is that they don't actually exist. They don't actually exist. It's kind of an oxymoron. Because if they were conservative women, they would know that women shouldn't be involved in politics, so they wouldn't even call themselves a conservative woman. They would just call themselves a woman or a Christian woman or a mother or a wife. They wouldn't call themselves a conservative woman because they'd be like, I don't even know what conservative means. My husband votes for both of us. I have no idea what conservative even means. What are you talking about? I don't follow politics. That's what a conservative woman would say. A conservative woman would know that she should have no idea what conservative even means because she doesn't care about politics. She cares about raising a family and obeying her husband. What a conservative woman knows about politics, she learned from her conservative husband. That's a conservative woman. Next. And yes, they do have guns. War, our representatives. J-Lo. Hey, what up, J-Lo? Damn, J-Lo was... That's so sexist, JS. No, it's true. It is sexist, but it's also true. Next! Get J-Lo out of here. I used to love J-Lo. Jenny on the block. What up, girl? Hey. All right. Can a woman make you a millionaire? Xavier says, yes, if you're a billionaire. I love Xavier. Xavier always coming in with the heat in the comments. Okay. Modern Western women. Women reaction when a man looks at her butt on the street. That's Amber Turd. She's angry when a man looks at her butt on the street. But when a woman has 7,000 men look at her butt on Instagram, oh, she's happy about that. Toxic femininity. Next, World War III starts. Memers and weapon companies are both very, very happy. Very, very happy memers and very, very happy weapon companies. Not conservative, traditional. Right, exactly. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It was all right. It was all worth voting Democrat. Now I can get an abortion anytime I want. Yeah. You're homeless. You're poor. We're all poor. Society has been wiped out. There's no more structure. There's no infrastructure. We're all just killing each other in the streets. But hey, we got pot and we can kill our babies. Man, freedom is great. I love my rights, my constitutional rights to smoke pot and kill babies. Next. When last night's one night stand won't leave, so you have to call the experts. It's the whole removal service. What the? You need to get that girl out. You don't need to call a service for that.
Beta!
Just call up the Clintons.
Murderers. Yeah.
Oh, Clinton, he murdered a guy.
Next. Okay. I am spiritual. I am less spiritual. No, you just smoke weed, collect rocks, and hear voices in your head. Yep. That sounds about right. Yep. You worship crystals. You smoke pot and eat mushrooms and think you're on a spiritual journey. You worship the trees and the earth and talk about spirituality. You collect rocks and talk about spirituality. Seems to me that everything you worship is physical and you don't have an idea about the spiritual world. You don't know anything about it, Miss Wiccan What your name's probably Moon, because all of you girls are named Moon. It's not original. Come up with something different. I'm sick and tired of meeting hippies named Moon. Get a different name. Well, I'm Star. No, you can't be Star or Moon. Next. White women whenever a new serial killer documentary comes out. So true. So true. Hey, now I'm going to be honest, it's kind of feminine, but I also enjoy a good serial killer documentary or a good interrogation video. I know it's kind of feminine, but I like looking at psychopaths. I like learning about psychos. Next. Okay, Tomas, we're going to next it. Caution, Democrat-run city. Enter at your own risk. Doot, 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 doot. Next. We got to go faster. Student loan debt. Taxpayers who never went to college. They're about to get splatted. Oh, my God. They're about to get splatted by dang student loan debt.
Beta!
That is not good. These poor college students. Next. 6 years of nonstop investigations, and none of my accusers have committed suicide.
It's a man, baby!
Merry Christmas, Happy Schwanza, Happy Hanukkah.
Next. Trump based. Guess who's voting for Biden in 2024? OJ. I am spiritual, of course. I bet you are, Terry. I bet you are. Next. I had my subpoenaed cell phone smashed with a hammer. Oh, this one was supposed to come right before the Trump one, but they got a little mixed up. I had my subpoenaed cell phone smashed with a hammer and my subpoenaed laptop bleached. My husband flew to Epstein's Pedo Island 26 times and still not one indictment. Oh no. Oh no. Evil Hillary. Evil Hillary.
Oh, the murderers.
Yeah.
Oh, Clinton, he murdered a guy. Next. Introducing John Deere's new multi-lane protester digester. Nice. I'm going to buy one of those as soon as I get my money right. Wait till I get my money right. Speaking of that, hit up the Cashapp, $ Dreadedconservative, because we need some money, people. Next. I know what I'm worth and expect a man to realize that. According to the link in your bio, you're worth $5.99 a month. I can see all of it for $5.99 a month, you know, on your OnlyFans. You can't raise my kid and have an OnlyFans. Next. If Michelle Obama was a cat.
It's a man, baby!
If Michelle Obama was a cat.
Beta!
Oh, man. I have a rich spiritual life. You can think what you like. Okay. Sounds good. Next. 1990s comedy, 2020s reality. Oh my gosh. The movies are predicting the future. What? Bro. Bro. This is too accurate. Wow. Wow. That's crazy, huh? That is pretty crazy. Welcome to 2024, baby. Next. Iranians preparing their Air Force for World War III. That one's pretty good right there. That one's pretty good. The flying carpet. Aladdin over here with Abu. About to jump on a dang flying carpet. Meanwhile, in Australia, aren't you glad I'm not using a gun? Aren't you glad I just stabbed you 3 times in a crowd and nobody even knows where I am because I disappeared real fast? I just stabbed you up 3 times, and it takes you a couple seconds to notice you've been stabbed. Aren't you glad I didn't use a gun, though? Nobody says that. Next. Arguing with somebody in the comments and you find out they have pronouns in your Bible, in their bio. I've got a golden ticket. I've got a golden ticket. I'm about to destroy your whole entire world. Next. My FBI agent watching me make FBI agent memes about him. Nice. He's just chilling there. Next. Just pretend you don't see the big diesel generator in the background while you charge your electric car and save the world. Oh, true. Next. Nintendo wants the DEI hits. No! Not Mario. Why does she have casts on her hand? It's a male, female, overweight, wheelchaired, black person. That's horrible. That is horrible.
Beta! It's a man, baby!
Next. President Obama holds the world record for most children killed by a Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Beta!
Oh my God.
La, 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 wait till I get my money right.
Yes. Next. Taylor Swift releases new album, White Women with No Personality. We've got to get it!
Beta!
Next. Colombia protesters clarify they only want Deaf to America after America is done paying their student loans.
Beta!
And I think that's it for the news.
Get my money right.
Okay. Back to the camera. All right. Those are some good memes. We got through them fast. Now we've got some funny reels to watch, and then we don't have a whole lot in main story news because I already covered these two anti-white Trump stories. So we don't have a lot in the news, in the rapid fire news. We'll just burn through it, and then we'll learn about Pol Pot. But first, let's watch some funny reels. Some funny reels, and then we'll move on to more serious things. Okay. But I'm a creep.
How special.
Audio might be.
You're so fucking special. But I'm a creep. I'm a
Terry leaves tire marks when she twerks. That's horrible. Oh my God. I think me and Floor felt like really offended the first time Mr. Matt was drunk in a stream once and he started talking crap about, he started calling Terry a cripple. And I kind of knew something about that. I had an idea, but me and Floor were both like, yo, don't say that, Mr. Mad. That's fucked up, effed up, Mr. Mad. Don't say that. What do you, like, we got all like defensive of Terry. And then I'm watching her stream the next day and she's calling herself a cripple and like making jokes about herself. And I'm like, oh, I guess this is okay. I guess I didn't know that this was like an acceptable thing.
What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here.
'Cause I'm a creep. Y'all got so politically correct. Well, because I thought it was messed up. I didn't know that it was like, it was okay to joke about. I don't know. Trying to be nice, dang. Next! I probably would like some of your funny videos, Mayhem. These are the type of videos that make me laugh. I love these kids. It's always these British kids on bikes. It's so funny all the time. Speed! Whoa.
You got this.
You got it. You gotta go faster, bro.
Just keep your speed. You'll go right over it.
You'll go right over it.
You'll be okay. You got it. You guys are trying to kill him.
I never noticed that in the background of this video, Yeezy's Back from Kanye and Ty Dolla $ign is playing in the background. When I heard this on my phone, I never noticed that, but now that I have these headphones and they're like really loud, I can hear the song playing in the background. Am I sexual? Yeah. Am I everything you need? You better rock your body now. Everybody. Yeah. Rock your body. Yeah. Yeezy's back. All right. Yeah, he's totally got this. You just got to go fast. Commit. Don't look back. Full speed. And they're like, just go fast. Full speed. And watch how slow this kid rides. Like,
They're not. He has protection.
everybody.
Ready, Carter?
Ready, Carter? Go full speed, Carter.
All right.
Commit. Don't look back.
Speed.
Full speed,
Let's
Carter.
go, Carter.
Carter, go faster, buddy. Carter.
Oh, shit. Go.
One more time. One more time. One more time.
I'm actually too scared. You got this. You got this.
Carter.
That was
Carter's
literally
face
perfect.
planet, bro.
Just keep your speed. You'll go right over. Okay. You'll be okay. You got it. You guys are trying to kill him.
No,
they're not.
trying to kill him.
He has protection.
Everybody.
Ready, Carter?
Ready? Full speed, Carter. Come on.
All right. Full speed.
Watch Carter's
Let's
face.
go, Carter.
Let's go, Carter. Carter!
Oh, shit.
You hear him laughing. And then the other kid says, he'll be fine. He has protection. He's got like a helmet. He's got like a floppy helmet that doesn't fit his head. And he's driving his bike off a cliff at 2 miles an hour. And he just face plants into the dirt. Nailed it. Poor Carter. Let's see what this guy's doing. Oh, this guy's got a chicken doing a kickflip. You ever seen a chicken kickflip a skateboard? Watch this. Boom! Oh, it's not even a kickflip, it's a varial flip. One more time. It's a varial flip. Boom! Nice. Cool chicken. I like your chicken, buddy. This is cool too. This is Beat Saber on the VR. I don't have this, but it looks like it would be really fun to play this game. Check this out. Hopefully this isn't audio. What's it called? Music. Watch this. I've never played this before, but it's on MetaQuest and it looks really fun. That's the only reason I'm showing this. Plus, this guy's really good at it. It's kind of impressive.
Every time I come a nigga gotta set it, then I gotta go, and then I gotta get it, then I gotta blow, and then I gotta shut it. Any little thing a nigga think that he be doing, cause it doesn't matter, cause I'm gonna
Hold up. Beat drop. There we go. That's sick, dude. That is cool. Bro, that looks so fun. I want to try that. You get exercise playing that game. That looks crazy. It's called Beat Saber. All right, what's next? Hold on. We got to get it from the beginning.
Is that like a technical industry term?
Hold on, it's gonna
like did we take that or was that like who used that term first?
This sandwich, a jizz of mayonnaise is required.
Is that like a technical industry term? Like did we take that or was that like who used that term first?
This sandwich, a jizz of mayonnaise is required.
What the heck is a jizz of mayonnaise on a sandwich? I have brown, Snow White. Disney would love me. Front side heel flip is what the chicken did. Oh yeah, I didn't think about the way the chicken was standing. So maybe it was a but it was a varial. Anyway, jizz is a term, and it just means like a little squirt. Now everybody in chat is talking about jizzes of mayonnaise. It's the white stuff. Well, I know, but we're talking about mayonnaise. Stop, Disneyland. What the? the heck? Okay, this show evolved once we started talking about a jizz of mayonnaise. I don't want to Google it because probably get a lot of nasty stuff. Is this one gonna load? What is this one? Oh, this one's pretty funny. If it loads, I don't know if it's gonna load. Let me see. Both of these are frozen. Hold up. Let me see something. What's happening right now? Is the internet screwed up? Did I drop my connection or what? Page is unresponsive. Is everything unresponsive? Anyway, those two are being unresponsive. So we're gonna go into the news and maybe if they load. Oh wait, this one loaded up. Oh my god, this one is so funny. This is so funny. This made me crack up laughing. I don't know why. I'm gonna refresh it so you can see it from the beginning. Damn, they're not loading right. We might have to come back to these. Okay, this one's going. This one's so funny. Watch this. All right, ready? I don't know why that made me laugh so hard, but the kid is like from a dang horror movie or something. That's funny. Oh, it's not gonna play. This kid's smooth. He comes up with the smooth look with the basketball. He goes in for the dunk, and he comes up a little short. Okay, it's not playing. He just falls right in front of the hoop. Anyway, that's it for the funny reels. Rapid fire news. Let's burn through these stories. Anzu Robotics launches US-based clone of the DJI Mavic 3. Didn't I talk about this last week? I think I already talked about this last week. Basically, they're talking about banning DJIs. So, DJI might get banned next in the U.S. Lawmakers are weighing in on an FCC ban of DJI that could ground the company's drones entirely. After moving to ban TikTok in the U.S., the federal government could target the China-based DJI next. A report from the New York Times highlights a bill advanced by the House of Energy and Commerce Committee last month that could ground DJI's fleet of drones across the country. So, CCP drones, remember, during the BLM riots, China sent a bunch of DJI drones out to local police forces all over the country. So when the Rittenhouse thing happened, there was conveniently a Chinese police-operated DJI drone, multiple, in the sky, recording everything that happened at Kenosha. So when Rittenhouse went to court, they had drones in the sky watching conveniently exactly when it happened. And coincidence? I think not. But these are Chinese drones that were sent to America to document, what we're doing and all that stuff. And then we're doing our court things on Skype and Zoom calls. Zoom is owned by China. TikTok's owned by China. So they control the kids through the TikTok. They learn all of our inside information through the drones and through the Zoom calls where during COVID, we were doing political Zoom call meetings. Like politicians were having meetings on Zoom. China owns Zoom too. China looking out for us. Yeah, that's what it seems like. He had so many hops and his dreams got smashed. Have you seen the turtle on a skateboard? I have not. Have not seen a turtle on a skateboard. So meanwhile, Anzu Robotics is coming up with a DJI, an American, which it looks cooler. It looks way cooler. I like the green. They're coming up with their version of an American version of the DJI drone. So now we're stealing. I think I talked about this last week, this article. Basically, we're stealing intellectual property from China. They might have stole it from us first. Then they perfected it. Then they sent it to us to spy on us. Now we're banning that and we're remaking it, but our own brand of it. It's crazy. Crazy. From Washington Post, I don't know if they're going to let me read this article, but our Israel update, our weekly Israel update. Israel shuts down Al Jazeera's operations and raids their Jerusalem office. So Al Jazeera is the Muslim media, basically. And they're very big. They're very popular. They get a lot of funding. They push a lot of propaganda and a lot of lies. Basically, they're Muslim media. It's Al Jazeera. It's a big media network. A lot of YouTube channels that you wouldn't know are owned and paid for by Al Jazeera. And Israel shut down Al Jazeera's operation and raided their Jerusalem office. Israel's government moved Sunday to shut down the Al Jazeera media network's operations in Israel, clamping down on one of the few international broadcasters providing largely uninterrupted coverage of the Gaza war. Yeah, largely unfactual coverage as well. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the decision followed a unanimous vote by Israel's war cabinet, posting on X that the incitement channel Al Jazeera will be closed in Israel. In a separate statement, he accused Al Jazeera correspondents of having harmed the security of Israel and said the time has come to eject Hamas's mouthpiece from our country. Israel's actions placed it in the company of several autocratic countries in the region that have tried to stifle the network, which has attracted praise and controversy since it was founded nearly 30 years ago and helped reshape the media landscape in the Arab world. Whatever, it's a bunch of garbage. See, I'm glad they did that. But people would say, that's too authoritarian. What about their freedom of press? No. How about no? What else we got? More stuff on the protests. From Los Angeles Times, UCLA creates high-level post to oversee campus safety after security lapses and mob attack. UCLA has moved to swiftly create a new chief safety officer position to oversee campus security operations. So these things are still going on. In the wake of what have been called serious lapses in handling protests that culminated in a mob attack on a pro-Palestinian student encampment last week. So these protests are still going on all around the country. They were happening here in Utah, but I have a job. I have to work, so I couldn't go to them because all the crazy stuff happened at night when I was working. And I guess they arrested like 17 people, and then they went and protested at the county jail the next day. So that's interesting. Another article about the protests. Police close pro-Palestinian encampment at USC. UCLA creates new campus safety office. Update. Same thing. Just a little update on that. What the heck did I just click? I just clicked the wrong thing. Local news. Couple finds card skimmer at Salt Lake County grocery store. I've been seeing a lot of stories about this. This is like a big problem out here lately locally. They're saying a lot of these card skimmers, people walk by.
Meet the sheet. Toss the sheet.
They walk by and they just jam a card skimmer on the card reader, and that way when you scan your card, they get your card information. That's what's happening. Let's watch this story.
Loves a good deal. That's why Grabiela Juarez and Jonathan Calderon say Rancho Markets is one of their favorite places to shop.
We can buy everything for less than $100.
The couple says they shop at the Kearns location once a week, but during their visit Friday, Jonathan found a card skimming device on one of the store's payment systems.
When I walked over to pay, I saw the keypad didn't look right. It looks like it was sitting off, so I gave it a good tug, and next thing I know, it's in my hands. I'm glad.
Hey, I give it a good tug. When is it? No.
I didn't put in my PIN. I'm glad I didn't swipe my card. but I also felt bad for all the people that went ahead of me before I got there.
The couple says they filed a police report and then posted these pictures on Facebook, warning others about their discovery.
It affects us, it affects everybody else. You know, we work.
Well, if I wasn't Nada, now I will be. Now I'll be getting all sorts of card skimmer shorts.
So hard for our money, and so we would hate for that to just be taken.
The owner is Indian, you're guaranteed to find a card skimmer.
We've never had this before. Occurred at any of our grocery stores.
Sola Malaga Rancho Market's asset protection agent says they have video surveillance of the individuals they believe placed the skimming device and are working with police to bring them to justice. In the meantime, they're also doing what they can to protect customers.
The method that...
All right, that's enough of that. So watch out for card skimmers, guys. Watch out for card skimmers. Kentucky Derby just happened. Mystical Dan won the Kentucky Derby. I don't know why I grabbed this, but I did say that I was racist because I don't like triathlons and decathlons and Ironmans, but I do love a good horse race. So let's see Mystical Dan winning the ads.
Drama at the Derby. We've got a photo finish at the 150th running of the Run for the Roses. Mystic Dan, Sierra Leone.
Dan!
Too close to call.
Ooh.
Another look.
Oh, look, he's pulling ahead.
It is.
Where's the line?
Mystic
Dan!
By a
nose.
Oh, baby. How close was that?
Look at homeboy coming up from behind.
Goodness,
Almost got it second place.
18-1 long shot. That was Gene Menez's
wow.
long shot. Sportsline horse racing analyst. He gave you that. And
triple photo finish. Mystic Dan gets it by a nose. Nice. Giddy up. Let's go. Somebody won a lot of money. Somebody lost a lot of money in that one. And then, last but not least, pop culture stuff. I'm a hip-hop head. The Drake and Kendrick stuff is still going. It's getting crazy. Everybody's talking about it. The most back and forth beef tracks I've heard since the Ja Rule, Eminem, and 50 Cent problems. Like, that was a back and forth for a long time. But Kendrick dropped more tracks than all of them in like 3 days. And he just keeps dropping them. And they're very vicious. There are a lot of strong accusations of PDF file stuff Drake might be doing, all kinds of stuff. Personal attacks that Drake claims that his camp set up the attacks. As you might have heard, Drake and Kendrick are in the throes of an intense and seemingly never-ending rap battle. Though the two artists have long been at odds, this latest chapter ignited in March with the release of Like That, which quickly... Now, is that the one where he does the AI Snoop and Tupac? I have not heard that one yet. But I have heard Heart Part 6. I've heard a lot of them. And I'm not really a Kendrick fan. I like Drake more than Kendrick as a rapper, as his music. But I also don't like a lot of Drake's music. I don't like the lovey-dovey, slow, I don't like the dance music he does, the hotline bling. I'm not into that. But when Drake spits, he spits. But then you find out he's probably just stealing Lil Wayne's stuff and he has ghostwriters. So maybe not as good. But Kendrick can write well and rap well. He can't freestyle at all. But I don't know. I like Drake's style more. But he is a softie. He is soft and a little... I don't like him as a person at all. But several weeks, Drake fired back by mysteriously leaking push-ups. You ain't no big three, SEA. You got wiped down. Travis got you wiped down. Savage got you wiped down. Like your label boy, you in a scope right now. You're going to feel the aftermath of what I write down at the top of the mountain. So you tight now. Just have to talk with your ass. I had to hike down. Big difference between Mike and Mike now. Mike then and Mike now. He went after Lamar's work on pop songs like Maroon 5 and Taylor Swift, as well as throwing a stray dig at Rick Ross with the lyrics, I might take your latest girl and cuff her like I'm Ricky. Can't believe he jumping in this ninja turning 50. Every song I made it on the charts he got from Drizzy. Ross made a diss track. So, lots of beef there. I don't know. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that, but everybody's talking about it right now, so whatever. Anyway, that's it for all the news. That's it for all the reels, the memes, the funny stuff. That's it. Now we got an hour to go into our new segment, which we're going to be doing for the next maybe like 6 weeks or something. And maybe we'll take a break in the middle and do some other stuff to kind of space it out. But this is the Dissecting a Dictator series. And we're going to look into all the most dangerous dictators in history, where they went wrong, what they might have had right, but they went astray somewhere. They went sideways. The communists, the right-wing dictators, the left-wing dictators. We're going to look at all of them. And we're starting with one that I don't know a whole lot about. Well, I listened to like 4 hours worth of documentaries last night, so now I know a little bit. We're going to learn about the story of Pol Pot. Pol Pot, the communist dictator from the Khmer Rouge, killed more than 2 million people, basically emptied out a whole city, and spread a lot of harmful, dangerous ideas. So we're going to learn about Pol Pot now. We're just going to hang out, do some research, read about him, watch some videos. We'll watch a video first, and then we'll read about him, look at some pictures, and we're just going to do research live together. I'm going to be learning with you guys. And each week we'll do a different one. I think next week we'll do Mao, because Mao we should have done Mao first, because he comes before Pol Pot. Some of Mao's ideas led into Pol Pot, so we're kind of going out of order here chronologically. Next week we'll do Mao, and we'll do Hitler, we'll do Stalin and Lenin, and all of them. Some of them that I've never heard of before. We'll learn about them. But first, let's watch this little video.
2 things before we get started.
Not this video. I want to watch. Where's the 18-minute video? Hold on one second. There's a video that's 18 minutes long. We should be able to watch pretty much the whole thing. 55-minute, this one. Okay, this one has a lot of pictures.
When Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait in 1990.
No, that's not what I'm looking for. So Pol Pot did the Killing Fields. There's a movie called The Killing Fields, because he believed that the only way to have a working society is if there's no classes and everyone is a peasant. So the first thing he did is he emptied out the whole city, and he moved them all to the farms and the rice fields. They planted these huge communal rice fields. Even the farmers were used to working small plots of land, and now they had to work these giant plots of land. They had no real experience working farms like this. And all the doctors and lawyers, Pol Pot was definitely against them. He would just kill them in the streets. He would take them out of their homes and shoot them in the streets. Of all the people that went into the camps, thousands of people that went into his fields and stuff and his camps, only 7 of them survived. When they wiped out the city, only 2 upper elites survived. They had to lie and say they were. So, like, doctors would say, I'm a taxi cab driver, to get out of being killed, because he was emptying out the whole city, sending everybody to the farms. Everybody has to be a peasant. And once the city's empty, and once we have enough food to sustain our food sources, then we will slowly rebuild the city, and we'll have a true peasant class only. Everybody's the same class, equality, equal for everybody. Everybody makes the same amount of money. Everybody is equally poor, right? There's no upper class. He didn't like that. And it didn't work out. Long story short, he just killed like 2 million people, and it didn't work out too good. So we're going to play a little video here. It's going to have images. It's going to have pictures. This is on YouTube. YouTube, you allow this on your thing. It has 3 million views. This is history. This is information. So there are going to be some images here that are not they're kind of unsettling, but let's watch this video as soon as this ad plays. And then we'll read some stuff. Just do some basic research. And when people tell you Wikipedia is not research, people who tell you that probably never read a full Wikipedia article. So they'll say you didn't do your research, but really they've done less research, Jalen. Also, Wikipedia links you to other sources. So when you're starting doing research on something, encyclopedic research has always been acceptable. In the old days, we would just go over to our bookshelf. There was a door-to-door salesman, and he was selling encyclopedias, and your dad bought one. And then every month you get a new encyclopedia for 2 years. And then you have a big full bookshelf of these giant encyclopedias, right? And when you need to learn about something, you want to learn about Pol Pot. You go and grab the P off of the encyclopedia shelf, you open it up, and you read it. And then it's going to give you other sources. If you want to take your research farther, you look into those other sources. That's what Wikipedia is. It's just an online encyclopedia of knowledge. And they'll say people can change Wikipedia and blah, blah, blah. Not anymore. It's a very stringent process that you have to go through to be an approved Wikipedia editor. And then when you make an edit, it has to be reviewed by like 7 different editors. A lot of them are left-wing think tanks, a lot of the ones in charge. So you are going to get a left-wing bias in most of the stuff on Wikipedia. But if you learn how to read and do your research, you can read these things and you can see the bias. You can see what's a fact, and then you can check it if you want. And you can see where there's a fact, but it's biased, it's leaning. You learn to read these things. But it doesn't mean every source you go to is going to be left-leaning. Every media source, every encyclopedia, every dictionary. So that is an adequate starting place to do research into something. Anyway, next, let's play this. Let's watch this video.
Of the killing fields of Cambodia. But in the late 1970s and 1980s, when the evil nature of the regime in that country from 1975 to 79 was publicized in Europe and the United States, the absolutely horrific acts of the Khmer Rouge regime became front-page news. An Oscar-winning movie and a quite popular punk rock anthem, Holiday in Cambodia by the Dead Kennedys in 1980. Here at A Day in History, we do not shy away from bringing you tragic and sometimes hard-to-watch topics. This is definitely one of them. Please use your judgment before showing this video to young people.
Do we have any young people in the audience? I'm going to use my judgment. If we have any young people in the audience, Pol Pot was freaking crazy. And they do have images in this video. One of the craziest things that they'll talk about in a minute is where they would tie somebody to a pole in the ocean at low tide, and then the tide would rise and they would drown. That would be that would be crazy. Could you imagine the water is just slowly rising up as the sun's setting or whatever, or rising? The water's just slowly rising up, and you just slowly, like, finally you can see the sun, right? But you just can't get your nose above the water. Like, your eyes are still out of the water, but your nose is there, and it's just slowly rising. You just died. Like, that would be crazy.
For those who are sensitive to accounts of extreme violence. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.
Yeah, make sure you guys like and subscribe to my video. Khmer Rouge.
In 1996, an Oscar-winning actor was killed in an attempted robbery.
He pronounces it Khmer, and I've heard it pronounced Khmer Rouge. They're basically communists in France, and that's where Salazar, or whatever this guy's name, Pol Pot, met them.
Outside his Los Angeles home. A tragic thing to happen to anyone, but making this senseless act even more tragic was the fact that the victim was Dr. Haing S. Nyor. Nyor had come to the United States and made a successful life for himself as an actor, portraying another victim and survivor of the regime,
Yeah, I know, ma'am. And I didn't even get any of that from Wikipedia. I did have some Wikipedia sources. And when I say I have as a source Google, what I'll do is I'll just search something. So, like, for example, right now, I have Google as a source. I just searched Pol Pot, and I saved the Google thing because now when I'm doing stuff on the show, I can show you guys the pictures, and I can show you, okay, what do we want to read about? We want to read what Britannica says, history, BBC, all left-wing. Marxist Internet Archive, that's probably more of a right-leaning one. University of Minnesota, probably going to be more fair, even though it's a university, that's still going to be left-leaning. So you can go through and you can see the basic stuff, when he was born, when he died, who his spouse was, his children, his party. So Google is sourcing me to other sources. So if I say I Googled it, my source on Pol Pot is I Googled it. That means my source is all the sources on the internet. So that is not a valid source. That's actually the best source because it's all the sources. There's pages and pages and pages and pages of sources. I could just keep scrolling. And there's more sources and sources and sources and sources. So when you say I Googled it, and somebody's like, oh, you just Googled it. You just Wikipedia'd it. You don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? I have all the sources here. Anyway. So, yeah. And then Wikipedia, Pol Pot. We're going to read this here in a minute. All of these blue things link you to other things that you can learn about. When you go to the bottom, it's crazy. When you go to the very bottom, and anybody who tells you Wikipedia is a bad source to learn about Pol Pot, you think they read all of this on Wikipedia? Do you think they read all of this? Nope, they didn't read it. They haven't done. So this is not research. All of this is not research. And when I get to the bottom, I have references. Isn't that crazy? I have references. So I can go to the source material. I can go to a book and read from the book. Look at all these sources. Huh. Look at this. Lots and lots of sources. Wow. It's almost like you could do research with this. Or these are references. Then there's more sources here. Westview Press, Cold War History, Cambodia, The Shadow of Genocide, University of California Press. So there are sources. All of this is sourced. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
And winning the Best Supporting Actor Oscar for his role in the movie The Killing Fields. Dr. Nyor had been an obstetrician in Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia, when the communist Khmer Rouge took over the country in 1975. Khmer Rouge means Red Khmer. Rouge is French for red, the color of communism, and the French had ruled Cambodia for 90 years until 1953. Khmer is the Cambodian word for the dominant ethnic group in the country. The Khmer Rouge were on the extreme left of the political spectrum, the very extreme left. By the time they took power in Cambodia, Chinese chairman Mao Zedong's China was coming out of a radical
So we'll do Mao Zedong next week.
period itself, the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution, and Mao himself would be dead within a year, beginning a shift in Chinese politics. You can find out more about this strange and amazing time in A Day in History's The Most Bizarre Events in Chinese History on our channel, but suffice it to say that the ideology of the Khmer Rouge made Mao look like a man living in the past. Though the Khmer Rouge looked to Mao and China for both guidance and financial support, the leaders of the movement, most notably its
I say that all the time, Terry, when people are like, what's your source? I say, I'm the source. I do the news. I'm a news broadcaster. I'm my source.
Number 1 and Number 2 men, Pol Pot and Nguyen Chea, known also as Brother Number 1 and Brother Number 2, saw North Korea and Albania, the
Who does Number 2 work for?
two most isolated and repressive communist regimes on earth, as their role models. All three nations believed in autarky, complete self-sufficiency, though the smallest of the three, Albania, was the only one to come close to its goal. During the time of French control of the country, many Cambodians rebelled. Some carried out a small-scale and largely unsuccessful guerrilla war. Many people supported the Cambodian royal family, even though they were a puppet of the French military government. However, the heir to the throne, Prince...
Right, they had a king in Cambodia, but he was really just a mouthpiece. Just like the queen in England, they're just a figurehead. They don't really do anything. Really, it was the French government that was controlling Cambodia. The king of Cambodia had no power.
Norodom Sihanouk, 1922 to 2012, known within Cambodia by his traditional title of Samdech Yuv, or King Father, became head of state in 1960.
Eve to me is basically freedom. It's a giant open universe where you can...
And again when
Right, I'm totally free in this video game except for if the power goes out.
Crowned king in 1993, eventually led the country to independence in post-World War II talks with France. Like many other people in Southeast Asia between World War I and World War II, many Cambodians were drawn to communism. For them, the communist movement and ideology were ways to overcome the many problems in the region, including crushing.
Yeah, when liberals debate, that's how they debate. It's like everything you say. Do you have a citation? Do you have a source for that? Do you have a citation? What's your citation? And it's like, okay, that's a fallacy. You don't fight the source. So when I say something and Jalen has no rebuttal, so he says, obviously you get all your information from Wikipedia. When he says that, what he's saying is, I have no rebuttal. I have no argument. I don't know how to beat that argument. So I'm going to challenge your source. I'm going to say your source is wrong. And that's why you don't play the source game with leftists, because it doesn't matter. Even with ChatGPT, I talked about this earlier in the week. ChatGPT will give you a bunch of sources for something. And then you'll say, well, I have a source that says otherwise. And they'll say, well, that source is discredited. So instead of rebuttaling my argument and telling me why it's wrong, you challenge the source, and then you'll use sources and cite your sources, and those are valid sources. But if I cite my sources, now those are invalid sources, then they challenge the source. And that's a fallacy. That means you just lost that argument. Instead of challenging my source, who cares what my source is? Whether I'm saying something, it's either true or false. So disprove it. Tell me why it's wrong. Don't tell me that my source is wrong or you don't trust my source. Just tell me why what I'm saying is wrong. It doesn't matter who the source is. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's true, it'll stand on its own laurels. The source is strong with this one.
Poverty, especially in the countryside, foreign rule, and unequal distribution of wealth in the country. For many years, Cambodian society had been divided by a number of visible and invisible lines. The biggest and most obvious one was the difference in the life of people within the cities and the countryside. The biggest city by far was the...
So, and we see this in America. We see class differences. People get mad. And this is what Marxism really started. It was pushing this, I said earlier, the idea of it's always the oppressor versus the oppressed. If you're poor, you're the oppressed. If you're rich, you're the oppressor. Once it came to America, they were seeing that the classism thing didn't work because America has so much upward mobility. You can be poor, and in one generation, you could be a millionaire in America. We have hundreds of millionaires in America. It's a very commonplace. Now, $1 million now is like $500,000 4 years ago, of course, but we have the most upward mobility of any country. So a poor person can become a rich person in one generation if they don't believe in this Marxist lie that they can't ever make it. So what they started doing in America is they slowly changed it over to sexism, racism. They otherize other people. Everybody is other. Everybody is a group. You're the women versus the men. The women are oppressed by the oppressive men. The white people are oppressing the marginalized, the brown and the black people. So they turn into racism, sexism, ableism. They say, this person's handicapped, he can't run, but he needs to be on the track. He needs to be in the Olympics, running with the Olympians. Like ableism, everybody has a mental disorder. Everybody's autistic, depressed, anxiety. And if you're not those things, then you're the oppressor and they're the oppressed. You're an ableist. So you are ableism. All these fake made up words to divide us. A bunch of nonsense. But yeah, they kind of moved from classism to racism, sexism, ableism, all a bunch of nonsense meant to make people angry and turn them against one another. That's Marxism 101. That's basic.
The capital, Phnom Penh. Though there was poverty in Phnom Penh and other smaller cities, there was also a middle class of merchants, professionals such as doctors, and a wealthy landowning elite who owned much of the countryside. Many of these landlords collected rent, but never visited their land and had hated overseers watching out for their interests. A considerable portion of the landlords were French, which only caused more resentment among the Cambodians. What's more, many of the Cambodian elite had adopted French, sometimes as a first language, and had attended French schools, both in Cambodia and in France. Generally speaking, many people in the countryside were quite resentful of those living in the city. For their part, many people in Phnom Penh saw the people in the countryside as ignorant, dirty, and backward. Additionally, Cambodia was made up of a number of different ethnic groups. The largest ones were the Khmer, Vietnamese, Chinese, Cham, and Thai. The Cham people were Muslim and lived astride the border with Vietnam. In the Middle Ages, the Khmer ruled a large empire which included today's Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and parts of Burma and Malaya. The Mon Khmer Empire reached its height in 1200, but continued to be a power in the region until around 1700. A frequent opponent with the Vietnamese, whose territory expanded from the northern half of northern Vietnam to the borders we know today. Over the centuries, a great deal of ethnic warfare had taken place, and there was tension between different ethnic groups in Cambodia, especially where the Khmer people were a smaller segment of the population. Communism in Asia promised an end to class and ethnic warfare, as well as advocating for the overthrow of imperialist European powers and their local henchmen.
See, so into class and ethnic warfare. So even back then, they were on the ethnic thing. It was the Khmer versus the Vietnamese. It was ethnicities or nationalities. And then in America, we have such a huge country. Over here, it became race. It became race because our ethnicity and our nationality, we're all Americans. If you really want to get real about it, there are no African Americans. There is dual citizenship is a lie. If you were born in America, you're American, and so ethnicity didn't work anymore. Classism doesn't work when we have the most upward mobility and a great economy back then. So instead, what they do is they turn it into racism. It's skin color. Your skin color determines who's oppressed and who's not oppressed.
Ironically, the man who would lead the Vietnamese communists, Ho Chi Minh, and the Cambodians who would establish their own brand of communism in their country in 1975 were educated.
Yeah, they look Vietnamese because they're right next to Vietnam, and they this actually ties into the Vietnam War. Had a lot to do with what was going on in Cambodia.
Educated in France. Some attended French schools. Others worked. Ho Chi Minh was both a waiter and a reporter, for example. All of them came into contact with communists from all over the world while in France, including those from the Soviet Union. Both before World War II and immediately after, Soviet leader Joseph...
And I don't know if he talks about it in this video, but I think he might. But Pol Pot, once they say his real name, I'll call him by his real name, because Pol Pot was just like a pseudonym or a moniker that came around later. But he got a free college education. He was dumb. He did bad in his classes. He didn't understand Marx. He said later in his life that he never really understood Marx, but he loved Stalin. He read Marx, and they would study Marx with the Khmer Rouge, and he said he never understood or could comprehend Marx. He did horrible in school. He got held back. He was dumb. Pol Pot was dumb. He was not a smart guy. But somehow he got a free trip to go to France to learn about communism in college. So, because what they were trying to do is they were trying to keep people tied to communism. So they would take people who were politically active, even if they were dummies, useful idiots is what Marx called them, and then they would bring them out to France and educate them. We're going to give you an education in communism. Pol Pot went to France, a dummy on a college scholarship, a dummy who couldn't pass high school, didn't understand Marx. The Communist Manifesto is 50 pages. It's not that complicated. I could read it in 2 hours. And I have read it like 3 times. So Pol Pot was a dummy who got a free college education in France to learn about communism. And he came out as a communist, and he took over Cambodia and killed 2 million people, all with his education, his college education. And we all need to be educated, right? And I told you nothing good comes out of France. The greatest anarchist movement in history was the French Revolution. That led to the sexual revolution, the LGBT low IQ STD stuff, the sexual liberation, the feminism, the Marxism. You can thank France for spreading that all around the place, and you can thank college education for that.
Joseph Stalin and the Soviet view of communism dominated both French and Southeast Asian communism. Ho Chi Minh and the Vietnamese were the most populous and powerful bloc within Southeast Asian communism, and when the Cambodian first formally joined a communist party, it was called the Indo-Chinese Communist Party, but was controlled by Ho and his Vietnamese comrades before World War II.
2 million.
After World War II, the Cambodian communists formed their own party, the Khmer People's Revolutionary Party, or KPRP. It was also sometimes called the Kampuchean People's Revolutionary Party. Kampuchean was another popular name for Cambodian, but is rarely used today, and you'll understand why shortly. Many of the men who were to rule—
Terry, that's blasphemy. Don't ever say that in my chat again. Nothing good ever came from France, except for maybe like the Ménage à Trois.
Cambodia between 1975 and 79 were students in Paris, and though most of them were from Phnom Penh and other towns, they advocated a peasant-farmer takeover of the country, and another radical step which was unique among the communist nations.
French colonialism created some of the best food in the world? No, I disagree. I think Chinese communism made better food than French food. What does France have? French fries?
From 1953 onward, Cambodia was run by Sihanouk as the head of state.
Sihanouk. Sihanouk is Pol Pot, I believe. Or no, maybe that's somebody different. But this is where it gets dangerous. This is where it gets dangerous.
With a variety of political parties in the National Assembly. As you may know, the communists in neighboring Vietnam waged a war against French colonial rule after World War II, and in 1954 drove the French from the northern part of their country.
Vietnam.
Both the Vietnamese communists as well as the more powerful Chinese communists under Mao Zedong encouraged and supported a communist insurgency in Cambodia from the 1950s onward. By the late 1960s, support from China in Vietnam had allowed the Cambodian communists, now widely known to the world as the Khmer Rouge, to take over large parts of the countryside, especially in the
Statue of Liberty came from France. The Statue of Liberty is a transgender person.
Vietnam border area. The Khmer Rouge also worked from within Phnom Penh and the government, weakening the rule of the still popular Sihanouk, who seemed to have more interest in living the good life than running the poverty-stricken country. In 1970, Cambodian General Lon Nol overthrew Sihanouk and established a military government.
Okay, Sihanouk is not Pol Pot. Is Pol Pot Sihanouk? I don't think so. Let's just watch.
His government was supported by the United States. An American bombing of Cambodia in an attempt to both destroy Vietnamese supply lines in the country and help defeat the Khmer Rouge helped rather than hindered the communists in their effort to take over the country. Lon Nol had little support outside the capital, and between 1970 to 75, the Khmer Rouge isolated the military government in the city, while it established control in much of the rest of the country. In 1975, Lon Nol fled the country, and the Khmer Rouge took power.
Pol Pot empties the city. This is crazy. He emptied everybody out of the city and sent them to the fields. And if you were a doctor or a lawyer, he would just shoot you. He hated the elites, which, I'll be honest. I don't like doctors and lawyers too much either. Doesn't mean that I think that we should just take them out and execute them in the streets. Not a good idea. We do need them. But I'm not a fan. So that's what we're going to do in this Dissecting a Dictator series, is we want to understand what were some ideas that they had that maybe a lot of people might agree with, but where did they go wrong? Well, here's a good idea. The big pharma and the justice system, if it's crooked, then your lawyers are crooked. Lawyers are liars. We all make those jokes. Lawyers are liars. Some lawyer defending some PDF file rapist, you're a scumbag. Like, why are you defending this person? Because it's your job and you get paid for it? you're a scumbag. Why don't you just, if you were a decent person and you had to defend a murderer who you knew did the murder, you'd walk in and you'd say, Judge, he's guilty, lock him up. But you're defending this man and trying to get him off or get him paid by, like in the movie Liar, Liar, that's based off of a true story where a criminal was trying to break into a house and he falls and cuts himself. And then he sues the homeowner and gets paid for it. Things like that happen. That's a scumbag. The lawyer who is defending that person is a scumbag, right? So we can all agree we don't like lawyers. We can all agree big pharma, the medical industry, doctors are just, they're getting rich off of. Now, a lot of doctors save people's lives. A lot of doctors are good doctors, surgeons and brain surgeons and stuff. If you're saving somebody's life, I think you deserve to be paid a lot and you're doing a hard job. And if you went to college for that, you deserve to get paid what you get paid. But a lot of doctors are garbage. A lot of doctors will prescribe you to Oxycontin because they get a kickback from the Sackler family. A lot of doctors will put a young child on prescription methamphetamines because the boy is a little too rowdy, you know? So I get his disaffection with lawyers and doctors and the elites and the classism, the different classes. It is tough to see when there's somebody starving on the streets and then next door there's a guy with $100 million. It's a tough thing to see, but we have to figure out ways of fixing this problem. Is that even a problem? Is wealth inequality a problem? I would assume that the guy that has $100 million in a nice house, he probably worked hard to get to where he's at, whereas the guy on the street is a loser and a bum who doesn't want to work and wants to smoke pot and live in the dirt for their whole lives. So what do we do? What do we do? Do we kill the rich people, put them all in camps, and then put the poor people to work? If you're a communist, that might sound like a good idea, but what that leads to is a bunch of dead people.
The most powerful man within the Khmer Rouge was Salazar, who went by the revolutionary alias Pol Pot.
Okay, so Salazar, my bad. Salazar's, and that's what Tomas said earlier. I kept forgetting his name because all these Cambodian names, I was getting them all mixed up. But Salazar became Pol Pot,
which was a shortening of the French words politique potentielle, or potential politics.
Politique potentielle, which is potential for politics. Pol Pot. What a weird name. Why would you consider yourself potential politics? As a nickname? What a weird nickname.
He and a changing coterie of insiders would order and control the mass murder to come. Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge believed in a radical form of communism, which they hoped would bring about the workers' utopia described in the works of Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, and Mao Zedong. However, as in China, most of the population of Cambodia were rural peasant farmers who knew nothing about industry. The Khmer Rouge's unique idea was to rebuild Cambodian society from the ground up, according to its vision. And its vision turned out to be hellish for millions of people. Interestingly, though the Khmer Rouge hated Sihanouk's policies and killed many of his associates, they used him as a figurehead to recruit support in the many villages of the country, where he was immensely popular with the poor and uneducated. At first, Sihanouk thought this might be a way back into power, but by the time...
See, when I googled Pol Pot, that's one of the most famous pictures, allegedly, of Pol Pot. But is that Sihanouk, or are they just showing a picture of...
At first, Sihanouk thought...
See, that's Pol Pot, I think. Well, when I googled it, that's one of the famous images that came up. I think that's not the one I used in the thumbnail, but I almost used that one in the thumbnail. Are they saying that's Sihanouk?
This might be a way back into power, but by the time Cambodia was freed from the Khmer Rouge in 1978, he had been a literal prisoner for some years. One of the first things they did was to eliminate many of those who had held even small positions in the governments of Sihanouk and Lon Nol. The Khmer Rouge were also suspicious of the urban professional class.
The urbanites! Shout out the urbanites! Yo, he emptied the whole city. He took everyone out of the city and sent them to farms because he said we all have to be peasants. Everybody has to be peasants. There cannot be any classism. We all need to be peasants. We all need to be working farms. We don't need doctors. We don't need lawyers. We don't need all you business people in the cities, this upper middle class, this upper class. We don't need any of that. We all need to be farmers. That's how we save Cambodia. Everybody is a farmer. He emptied the whole city. And people like doctors and lawyers, they would just execute them in the streets.
Like doctors, lawyers, teachers, journalists, etc. They also believed that any resistance to their rule and policies would come from this class of people. After all, many of the top Khmer Rouge were educated men, and look what they had done. Many of these people were killed in the streets of Phnom Penh, the only large city in the country. Two men that survived this initial purge were Dith Pran, a photojournalist, and Haing S. Nyor, an obstetrician. For the professional class, the only chance of survival was to take up another identity. Haing S. Nyor pretended to be a cab driver, for instance.
Ah, an ad. What the heck is this?
He was lucky. Either no one he knew noticed him and turned him in.
I think all this footage is from the movie The Killing Fields, which I don't think I've ever watched, but I want to watch it. I'll probably watch it here in a couple days or tomorrow or something.
Or his acquaintances were pretending to be part of the working class and didn't want to be turned in themselves. One thing that the Khmer Rouge were looking for in particular were people with glasses. Everyone with glasses was...
Now this is based, because I agree. This is kind of based.
Considered to be either wealthy and living on the backs of the people or part of the professional class. Both Haing S. Nyor and Dith Pran threw their needed glasses away to survive.
Good. I think we need to... If you wear glasses, freaking optometry, obstetrician, you're an op. You're an op. I kind of agree with old Paulie on this one.
As in the museum at Auschwitz in Poland, with its suitcases, shoes, and other items left behind by victims of the Nazis, the main museum of the killing fields in Cambodia.
Yo, remember when Larry David stole a pair of Holocaust shoes? Because he lost his shoes and he stole a pair from the Holocaust Museum in Curb Your Enthusiasm? That was funny.
Holds piles of glasses left behind by those killed by the communists. The professional class were not the only ones to suffer at the hands of the Khmer Rouge. For while execution squads were searching for doctors, teachers, officials, etc., other troops were beginning the roundup of 2 to 3 million people in the capital, many of whom were refugees from the fighting that had recently taken place. Some of these people left the city reluctantly, but without resistance, for the situation in the city had grown so bad that food, water, and shelter were hard to find. The Khmer Rouge promised them all three, in return for helping them construct a peasant's paradise. Most people did not want to be removed from their homes and separated from their families, and thousands were killed in the streets for resisting and as an example to others. By all accounts,
Matthew wears glasses. Get him! I'm sorry, Matthew.
The worst of the Khmer Rouge soldiers were young people, teenagers and even younger, from the countryside, who had been fully indoctrinated into Khmer Rouge ideology and believed that almost everyone in the city was an enemy or potential enemy. These youngsters were encouraged to be particularly violent and vicious, and many instances of torture, rape, and brutal types of killing took place while Phnom Penh was empty, and that was only the beginning. One of the more bizarre aspects of Khmer Rouge ideology was that once a perfect agricultural community had been created, the cities would then be repopulated, and a uniquely communist urban society would be set up.
The killing fields. Now this is where it gets dark.
The people of Phnom Penh and many of the villages of eastern and central Cambodia were relocated to agricultural areas. There, they were told that through hard work and communist dedication, they would soon increase Cambodia's food supply threefold and help
dictators now, Little Rocket Man, Trudeau, Obama, Biden, Zelensky. I think Zelensky's a fake. He's an actor. I don't think he's dictating anything. Little Rocket Man, yes. Who runs China? I can't think of his name right now, but he probably is.
the country be fully self-sufficient in short order. There were many problems with this. First, Cambodia was divided into zones, and not all of the governors agreed with some of the harsh methods that Pol Pot and the central government were using. This caused productivity to lag, and eventually small-scale civil wars began in outlying provinces, though they were finally put down by Pol Pot and his supporters, which included Chinese advisors. The lack of productivity meant that many began to go hungry. This led to problem number 2. No one was willing to report poor harvests. Those that did were often killed because it had to be their fault. They were either accused of poor communist zeal or of being a—
Yeah, this is where the pictures get kind of graphic, guys. If you got any children in the room, you might want to have them look away because we're on the killing fields. This is where it gets dark. So basically, everyone is a farmer now. Everyone is in a field farming rice. And if you're not producing enough, you don't tell anybody because they kill you. So when farms aren't producing enough, people aren't eating, but they're not telling anybody because they're scared they're going to get killed. So instead, they die of starvation. Crazy.
A CIA spy whose purpose was to overthrow the regime. Third, many of those who were put in charge knew absolutely nothing about farming. What's even more surreal, the Khmer Rouge destroyed many of the books in the country. So even based—
We're not even going to have time to read any Wikipedia. So hopefully we get everything we need to know from this video. But I watched a 2-hour video last night. I watched this, which is 18 minutes. I watched another 15-minute video, and I watched a 45-minute video. So I watched like 4 hours of stuff about Pol Pot while I was at work last night. And I have read a bunch of the Wikipedia, but I don't think I'm going to have time in this show to read through the Wikipedia. But that's fine. We're getting pretty much everything we need from this little documentary here.
Basic how-to books were non-existent. The farmers that did know something were completely out of their depth as well. They knew how to farm small plots of land, not the huge collectives set up by the regime. Starvation meant people ate insects, rats, snakes, and reportedly fresh corpses on occasion.
Bugs and cannibals. And this is where, when you believe in moral subjectivity, you believe morals change for everybody, and you push into LGBT stuff and the communism stuff, people eating bugs, people, bestiality, PDF files, eating bugs, eating each other, cannibalism, it all becomes acceptable because morals are subjective, you know? There's no objective standard for what's right and what's wrong. In this economy, we have to eat bugs and people. And why wouldn't I sleep with a dog? It's fun and it doesn't hurt anybody. I didn't hurt my neighbor. No harm principle.
All of this was done secretly, for being caught would mean you thought that the regime wasn't supplying enough food, for which you could be killed. Hunger, starvation, and disease claimed 60% of the roughly 1.5 million victims of the Khmer Rouge. Making things even worse, doctors could not acknowledge being doctors, and all medical books and most of the medicine in the country were destroyed by the regime. They were seen as poisonous Western influences. Traditional folk medicine was supposed to take its place, but even the sick were forced to work. Haing S. Nyor was an obstetrician, but in one of the most tragic things you will ever hear, he could not save his wife and unborn child when she went into an early and difficult labor. He had to stand by and watch while she and his child died. Admitting he was a doctor would not help. Thousands of people lived together. No one had any privacy. Had he helped, he would have been shot and his wife and child killed anyway. Those who were seen or seen to be resisting, loitering, or complaining were killed, many times in the most brutal ways possible.
Dang, he's got a baby in his hands. He's about to smack that baby.
In order to save bullets, Khmer Rouge executioners used axes and picks to cave in the heads of their victims. Others were tied to stakes with their hands behind them.
Look at this. Wow. Look at this. They're dunking him in the... Damn, that's crazy.
an airtight plastic bag around their heads, suffocating to death. Others were tied to stakes in rivers, drowning at high tide. The horror went on and on. The enduring symbol of the regime today is the museum at the former S-21 prison in Phnom Penh. There, Pol Pot's enemies, real and perceived, were kept under a strict regimen that included complete silence at all times, chaining to a wall or floor at all times, waterboarding, and other.
They're not very great artists either, huh? This art is like kind of, it's not that good.
The torture on a regular basis and mass executions, which occurred mainly at night and with pickaxes to the head. It's estimated that 20,000 people were killed at S-21. Only 12 people are known to have survived. The Khmer Rouge were also Cambodian nationalists, which is sometimes overlooked in history books. Throughout their reign of terror, they eliminated thousands of men, women, and children from Cambodia's minority groups. Many of these were Vietnamese, and this combined with a low-level war which had begun between the two former allies after the communist victory in the Vietnam War caused the more powerful Vietnamese to invade and defeat the Khmer Rouge in 1979. Pol Pot was never brought to justice. He and the Khmer Rouge fled to the mountains and jungles of southwest Cambodia and fought a guerrilla war until 1998 when they were defeated. Pol Pot and a small group of fanatic supporters died in a cave while hiding from government forces.
Okay, so that is not the same that I heard from another documentary that I watched. The other one I watched said that late in his life, Pol Pot was captured by, I believe, the Vietnamese, but he was captured because they were tired of him killing everybody. And he was put on house arrest for the rest of his life. And while being on house arrest, he listened to American radio, and he heard on the radio that they were coming to arrest him. They were coming to take him. And they say he died that night in his sleep. And then his followers came and burned his body before the authorities who had taken over could get his body. His followers burnt his body and that he died in his house. And it's assumed, it's not proven, but it's assumed that when he heard that on the radio, because he was listening to American, like, coast-to-coast radio, and they said that they're going to go take Pol Pot. He's in his house on house arrest right now. They're going to go get him. And so the theory is that he killed himself, and then his followers burnt his body before they could ever find it. Now, this story about the cave, I don't know which documentary is right, but there are conflicting stories on this, so just so you know.
Now run in part by King Norodom Sihanouk. We thank you for watching this episode of A Day in History. If you're interested in unusual and underreported topics, please.
What the heck is this? What China doesn't want you to know about its past? What the heck is that? That's crazy. Anyway, so that's Pol Pot. Cambodian name is Paul. In accordance with Cambodian customers, this person should be referred to by the given name Pot. Pol Pot, born Salith Sar, was a Cambodian communist revolutionary. I want to see how he died. See, here's when he went to school in Paris from 1949 to 1953. Access to further education abroad made Sar part of a tiny elite in Cambodia. He and 21 other selected students sailed from Saigon aboard the SS Jamaica, stopping in Singapore, Colombo, and Djibouti en route to Marseille. In January 1950, Sar enrolled in the École Française de Radioélectricité to study radio electronics. He took a random Cité University Indo-Chinese pavilion, then lodgings in the Rue, eventually a bedsit in the corner of the Rue de Commerce. Good marks during his first year. He failed his first end-of-year exams, but was allowed to retake them and narrowly passed, enabling him to continue his studies. So he went to school in Paris and learned all this stuff. Then he returns to Cambodia and takes over, develops the movement. They have a rebellion. He was strongly believed in rebellion. Constant rebellion was his favorite form of government. He thought, there's never going to be no peace. We always need to be fighting a rebellion through force. George Knapp for the win. No way, Robbie. Look up gator hunting slaves. Colonel, I have an email thread with him. I'll have to look at it later. I'm not going to have time to go over it tonight. I just want to see about his death because there's conflicting reports about his death. Purges and executions, foreign relations, the number of deaths, 1.6 million to 1.8 million. So I said 2 million plus. It's a little less, but close to 2 million. Between 1.6 and 1.8. Between 21 and 24% of Cambodia's population. A study by French demographer Marek Swinsky calculated slightly fewer than 2 million unnatural deaths under the Khmer Rouge. 33.5% of Cambodian men died under Khmer Rouge, compared to 15% of women. Fall of democratic Cambodia. I'm trying to see his death. Fighting back against the Vietnamese, the fall of Khmer Rouge, imprisonment and death. 1997, 1998. Pol Pot had grown suspicious of Son Sen, and in June 1997 ordered his assassination. Khmer Rouge cadres subsequently killed Sen and 13 of his family members and aides. Pol Pot also 9 of Pol Pot's family members were killed while he was on house arrest, and they think he might have done that himself. Pol Pot later stated that he had not sanctioned all of these killings. I think Sin is his brother, actually. Sun Sin was his brother. So 13 of his family. I don't know. Tamak was considered that Pol Pot could turn on him too. Mok rallied troops loyal to him at An Long Bang, informing them that Pol Pot had betrayed their movement and then headed to Kabal and Song. Fearing Monk's troops, on 12th of June, Pol Pot, his family, and several bodyguards fled on foot. Pol Pot was very frail and had to be carried. After Monk's troops apprehended them, Pol Pot was placed under house arrest. Q Samphan and Nu Che sided with Mok. American journalist Nate Thayer conducted Pol Pot's last interview while Pol Pot was under house arrest. Pol Pot stated that his conscience is clear, but acknowledged that mistakes were made and told Thayer that, "I want you to know that everything I did for my country." He also rejected the idea that millions had died, saying, "To say that millions has died is too much. And for the other people, the babies, the young ones, I did not order them to be killed." In late July, Pol Pot and 3 Khmer Rouge commanders who remained loyal to him were brought before a mass meeting near Songnam. Thayer was invited to film the event. There, Khmer Rouge sentenced Pol Pot to life imprisonment. The 3 other commanders were sentenced to death. 3 months later, Tamak permitted Thayer to visit and interview Pol Pot. On the 15th of April, 1998, Pol Pot died in his sleep of a heart attack. Thayer, who was present, claimed that Pol Pot killed himself when he became aware of Tamak's plan to hand him over to the United States, saying that Pol Pot died after ingesting a lethal dose of a combination of Valium and chloroquine. His body was preserved with ice after an improvised embalming with formaldehyde had failed, so that his death could be verified by journalists attending his funeral. 3 days later, his wife cremated his body on a pyre of tires and rubbish, utilizing traditional Buddhist funerary rites. His mom was a devout Buddhist, and she had 9 kids. In May, Pol Pot's widow, Ted Kenai, fled to Malaysia, where they married. The Khmer Rouge themselves continue to face territorial losses to the Cambodian order. So this Wikipedia is closer to the first documentary I listened to, which said that he was put on house arrest. Then he did his last interview in life with this American Thayer guy, which was like coast to coast radio in like 1998 or something like that. It was like NPR or something, AM radio. And Pol Pot was a fan of it. He would listen to it every night. And he did this interview while he was on house arrest with Thayer. And then he found out the Americans are about to come and take you. And then he died of a heart attack that night, conveniently. But the assumption is he killed himself because he knew they were coming for him. And then they cremated his body before they could take it, before the enemy could take it. So that's what Wikipedia's saying. That's what the other thing's saying. The other documentary I watched said that he ran into the mountains and hid with his troops and he died out there. So believe what you want to believe. There are sources and there are there's sources for all this and references for all this if you want to check them out. But yeah, that's the story of Pol Pot and the killing fields. Almost 2 million people died. Craziness. Against glasses, I kind of agree with that. Against doctors and lawyers and journalists and the elites, I kind of agree, but I don't think that we should execute them in the streets. And also, I'm a bit of a journalist myself, so take it easy there, Paulie. Take it easy there, Paulie. But he did. He did. Anyway, probably a very evil man, a very crazy man. And yeah, that's Dissecting a Dictator with Pol Pot. What do you guys think of Pol Pot? Next week, we'll talk about Mao Zedong. Dissecting a Dictator, Part 2, Mao Zedong. Next week, we'll find an interesting little video to watch. We'll do some reading. I'll do my research leading up to it. And we'll talk about Mao next week. But Pol Pot, crazy stuff. If you get a few seconds, please give your opinion on the latest Gianna Michaels situation. I don't know who that is. Gianna Michaels, American pornographic film actress. As soon as I type this up, I'm getting a bunch of porn stuff. Yeah, all I have is Pornhub, Xvideos, Xhamster, ePorner, Pornhub, Spank Bank, XNXX, Spank Bank, YouPorn, Boobpedia, XXX Movies. Yeah, I'm not really interested, honestly. Race cars and reptiles. I'm not going to do any research on that. I don't know what the situation is. What, is she getting baptized and turning into a Christian? That seems to be the popular thing for porn stars nowadays. But when I type her name in, all I get is porn. So, I don't know. You'd have to give me a more detailed idea of what I'm looking for. But I haven't heard about it. Maybe I'll talk about it later. But I do have to end the show, guys. I got to end. I got to get ready for work. Let's get the music going. Hey. Thank you for hanging out, guys. Monday night. Kicking the week off right. The Dreaded Conservative show. Hope you guys liked it. We will learn about Mao Zedong next week. Every Monday night. 4 p.m. Pacific. 8 p.m. Eastern. Something like that. The world's a crazy place. I'm just reporting on it. Throughout the week, we'll do some gaming streams. We'll do some hangout streams. And when I'm doing my like chill gaming streams, if you want to call in on the Discord, let me know in the chat and I'll open it up. We can have a one-on-one convo and talk about whatever. I just don't like doing the open, everybody jump in. That's Friday and Saturday night. If I'm not working overtime this week, I will be doing the Friday snore stream. But trying to write these down. But yeah, make sure you guys hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe, tell a friend, share it to somebody. If you want to help out the channel, hit up the Cashapp. You can send me $5 or $10. Help me get a coffee or a pizza, whatever it is. But I'll see you guys later. I'm getting paid this week, and I'm going to get my gardening stuff. So I'm going to start working on my garden and making a garden video. But all that stuff's on the way, guys. Thank you for hanging out. God bless everybody. Have a good night. We out. Peace.